Everybody, let's go ahead. We'll call this meeting to order. This is the Town of Andover Board of Finance regular meeting for March 26, 2025. We'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. I guess we could open up to public speak. I don't see anybody other than Wally. Eric, is that what you're seeing?
That's all I see.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he'll have a chance to speak. So if that's okay with you, Wally, we'll go ahead and proceed.
I'm just here for section 7, Mark.
Okay. The next item is changes and additions to the agenda. So we will entertain motions to change the agenda. The one thing I would suggest is that we might think about moving section 7.1, which is the Fire Department Commission budget discussion, up. So Wally can talk to us about that, and then he can head out if he chooses. That way he's not stuck through the whole discussion. Anybody have any other suggestions or changes? Joanne?
Yeah, I didn't know if more people were here and AES personnel were here to discuss the request. I was going to do the same thing, but since they're not here, it looks like we can keep that as is. And yeah, I think, yeah, I'm good with that. Thank you.
Great idea.
Okay, I guess I'll just, normally I don't make a motion as chair, but I'll make a motion just because this is procedural to put under item 3. We'll change that. We'll add item 4, which is item 4.1, which is the Fire Department or Commission budget discussion. Is everybody, do I have a second on that?
Second.
Bill, thank you. Anybody
Sorry.
else?
When did you move it to, Mark? Sorry.
I would just do it next.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, so it would be
Okay.
basically 4.1.
Yeah. Or 3.1, right? 4 is executive session.
3 is changes and additions, so it would technically be another agenda item.
Okay. No, I just see executive session under 4, unless I'm looking at the wrong thing.
Yeah, well, it is, but it would normally move to 5 and then 5 to move to 6, so we would
Okay, thank you.
renumber like that, yeah.
Oops, got it.
Other discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so moved. So we will go ahead and I don't think we have no other additions or changes recommended. Okay, we'll go ahead then, Wally. You can we'll give you an opportunity to kind of explain this. Eric, do you have the Fire Commission budget? Oh, I've got it in front of me if you want me to share.
Yeah, you can share it. That's probably the easiest. I can pull it up if not.
I've got it right here. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward. It's fairly simple and straightforward. Looks like you're looking for a fairly flat budget there, Wally, and you know it's one of the things that kind of made us kind of. I think 2 things that the board had questions on is just kind of what are some of these items used for, and is there any particular rationale to the changes? There must be something driving vehicle maintenance, for example, equipment maintenance, that kind of thing. You know, to me, I guess looking at electricity is electricity, and that's a lot of money, but it is what it is. I assume that's based kind of on history. Telecom is probably just what your costs are. Propane, is that for heating?
Yes, it is. That's all we use propane for, heating the building.
Okay. Gas and diesel, obviously for the vehicles and apparatus.
Yep.
Building maintenance. So you got about $20,000, fair amount of money there. What typically does that cover?
Okay, that takes care of everything on the exterior of the building and the interior of the building. We paint different sections each year. We maintain the plumbing, the heating system, the bathrooms, anything that has to be changed. things like urinals or toilet bowls that break that have to be changed. That's all in that budget. Changing light bulbs, anything to do with the building or the actual grounds is within that building maintenance budget.
Well,
And does that tend to be flat year to year? Or do you guys end up with big expenses occasionally or?
Normally, it doesn't vary very much. If we have a good year without things breaking down, we put money towards like painting a room or something else that needs it. But it does seem to operate fairly well at a flat level.
well, are there any specific items that we know about for this year for the building maintenance?
Uh,
I'm
no,
just,
not other than our normal routine maintenance items and the lawn care and whatnot, the exterior of the building. We just did some painting inside this year, and there may be another section where we're gonna do some touch-up painting in one of the rooms.
Do you have maybe a detail report, Wally, to show the detail of how that $20,000 is spent?
Not
Just
really, to be honest.
give us a bit. Okay,
As the year progresses and we have costs that come in that are associated with the building maintenance, we authorize those expenditures, but we don't have a real breakdown that we plan each year to do X, Y, or Z.
You don't typically, I would think for the it's fairly simple, straightforward accounting you don't separate accounts or things like that. This is basically your account.
That's
structure right
correct.
here.
Each
Yeah.
of these are the line items that we utilize as a fire commission to charge back to.
and what is pro T cloth?
Protective clothing,
Oh, protective
turnout
clothing.
gear,
I'm sorry.
helmets, boots, gloves,
Gotcha.
that's protective gear.
Mhm.
And FF supplies, Wally? Do you have any-
Firefighting supplies,
Yeah.
hose, nozzles, adapters, anything associated with firefighting that either needs to be replaced or is purchased new to upgrade something.
And your
I had a quick
office
question. Oh,
supplies
go ahead.
budget?
Joanne, you had your hand up before. Go ahead.
I just wondered, because I like to learn about the town. Wally, on any given day, how many people like are at the fire station? Are there people there every day?
No,
What?
no, there are no people at the firehouse. We have no paid personnel,
Yeah,
strictly volunteer.
yeah.
When the tones go out to respond to a call, people respond to the firehouse, but there's no one sitting at the firehouse waiting for a call on a regular basis.
Sure.
Unless there's something going on at the firehouse itself.
And that just kind of helps us, I was thinking that out loud, right? That answers the question. So obviously it's a beautiful building from the outside. I've never been inside, but right, everyone's volunteers. You have yeah, so there's not people there. And so it's not used a lot, right? Hopefully, we hope they're not fighting fires every week or every day. So
Our call volume has increased this year dramatically from the last 2 years, so
mhm,
there are people in and out. And if you've never seen the firehouse, this Sunday, I believe, is Carol Lee's retirement, which is being put on by the fire department. And if you want
Oh.
to walk into the building and see what it looks like, you're more than welcome.
I appreciate that. I don't want to crash the party or what. No, I like to see different things and know how often they're used and all of that. And it just goes along with all the questions. No, thank you, Wally.
And
Again, every Wednesday night, they have a drill. And if you're
Oh.
in the area around 7 o'clock, you can stop in and they'll give you a tour of the firehouse, show you the fire apparatus, show you anything you want to see.
Once our weekly meetings are done, that would be nice. We'll have to.
I know. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
last question I was going to ask was cost recovery, Wally. What is cost recovery?
Okay,
Good
for every
question.
time a firefighter responds to a call, he earns a point.
Oh,
For every drill he attends, he earns a point. For every meeting he attends, he earns a point. All of these points are put together, and twice a year, they take the total number of points. And they have $7,000 to divide by the total number of points. Each firefighter that responds, let's say you went to 50 calls and 10 meetings, you would get a cost recovery check equivalent to, let's say, $100 to help cover your costs for your gas, vehicle maintenance, any clothing that you destroy at a fire or an ambulance call. That's what the cost recovery was put in place 4 years ago.
Thank you.
Yep.
And are there years, Wally, that you have, you know, hopefully we have some lean years where you're not, and I understand you're volunteer, they all go out like when there's car crashes and all that kind of things as well, like for safety. So I know it's not just fires in town, we get that. Are there years that you're like, okay, we have $167,000 budget, but we really didn't use it all? Has that happened quite a bit?
It has happened. We have years where things like the vehicle maintenance, we just got rid of 2 vehicles and we're getting a new one this year, hopefully. So we decided we could reduce the vehicle maintenance budget. Last year, we didn't have a lot of vehicle maintenance. We had a
Right.
good year. Things go up and down, and
Right.
equipment maintenance, that saw an increase last year because all the vendors are charging more of an hourly rate. They're all charging us a fuel charge because if they have to drive from wherever to the firehouse to do the service, we're paying a fuel cost. So our costs have increased and that sort of a thing. Last year, we did return money to the town. I don't have the exact figure. I think it was around $3,000. But if we have money at the end of the year, we always turn it back in at the end of the year.
No, thank you. I mean, I imagine it varies, right?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
We've been very fortunate that we've never had a big problem where we've had to go back to the Board of the Finance in the middle of a year to ask for more money because we try and work our budget so it lasts us all the way till the end of June.
That's great. Follow-up question, just because you're here and I appreciate your time. I know that you came on earlier and we already covered it immensely, but I just want to make sure that when we come to the time to vote on it, that whole countertop or cabinet replacement, this is for the firehouse.
That is
Somewhere
correct.
in that building that sits there.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. In like a kitchen, is that what we're,
The
right, because
kitchen-
I do like, you know, obviously, if there are people there, you have to have a kitchen to feed them and all that. but-
Yeah. Wally showed us there's 2 different spots. Go ahead, Wally. I'm sorry.
Right, because CIP, right, or some, you guys.
Yeah,
read?
CIP looked at this.
The cabinets are for the kitchen. The countertop is for the kitchen and the watch room where the radios sit, where they do all the report writing. That counter has actual damage to it from all the years of service. So the 2 counters we're looking at are the kitchen and the watch room. The cabinets are just for the kitchen itself.
And the kitchens and the cabinets are in a horrible, I'm just thinking for a building, you know, you've already talked about it. Because they're old, they're just in a bad, it's not a building that's used all the time. And I
No,
get
but
you're trying to revamp it, but they're in bad shape, pretty much.
yeah, they are. They're showing their age. Again, the building was built in '89. And they are showing their age. And to be perfectly honest, when it was built, they weren't top shelf cabinets.
Mhm. Yeah.
If
And this
memory
stuff-
serves, Joanne, when we went through,
Yeah,
there's at least a couple cabinets where the doors they don't actually hang right
you're
anymore.
like,
You know,
yeah,
it's not a complete disaster area in there or anything, but it makes sense to
mhm.
do this. If it wasn't this year, next year, that kind of thing. But you're not going to put this off for any significant period of time. I don't think. I think we all looked at it and we're basically satisfied. The CIP committee, I mean,
Mhm.
we're basically satisfied that some work needed to be done in there. Just FYI.
No, I
And that-
appreciate, I mean, since he's here, I figured take advantage and learning that it's not used all the time. No, thank you. Looks like Liz, sorry, Mark will do
And
that.
that's,
Yeah,
is it-
Fred.
Am I right in that that would be covered in the current year's budget, or is that going to be budgeted for this budget season that we're working on now?
Eric, you want
It's
to
that's a
answer that?
capital expense, so.
I
it
think
wouldn't-
it's
wouldn't
in
come
the,
from
I thought that they had said it's already in that building fund, but Eric or Mark or Eric will answer, but I'm pretty sure it's already in there, I thought.
So Liz, that's expected to be paid for out of the building maintenance fund. And we currently have the money to cover that within the building maintenance fund.
I think that's what I said too, Liz, but Eric,
Yes.
gotcha.
Yep, got it.
Any other questions for Wally on this?
Am I allowed to ask him, since he's here, of his free will? Thank you, Wally. I did ask a question last week about the elections, and I know you're part of that too. Registrars or elections. And I know there was kind of I don't have it in front of me, there was a little bit of a sizable increase. And I had asked Eric the question, he said it should go to you or someone.
Okay,
know-
I'll explain a piece of that.
Let me just, and thank you, Wally. Yeah, it just seems like it's a non-election year, so I didn't know why the bigger increase this particular year. Thanks, Wally.
The state is gonna dump 2 brand new systems on us. A whole new voter registration system. We're getting brand new tabulators that are not what we have now, so we have to go through training. We have to train our people in how to use all of these. And somewhere in the fall, we're supposed to talk about another brand new system that's gonna go into effect in early 2026. So between the time that we have to sit in the office and actually utilize these systems and get fluent in the operation of them. And one system in particular, the new voter registration system, is going to require us to take every address in Andover and tie it into a global positioning pin. So I've got 2,200 voters in Andover. And for each one of these voters, sometime within the next calendar year, we're going to have to sit and adjust every voter's address to a GPS location. So our workload is exploding with all these wonderful new systems the state has. So yes, the 2 registrars are going to have to put in a lot more hours to handle all of these things, as well as all the early voting and other things that come down the road where we have to spend the time before the election, getting all the paperwork in place, getting everything in the Secretary of State's office, lining up our people to work. So our workload has increased dramatically.
That's a great explanation. Having you here, like 2 seconds like that. Thank you. That you explained it perfectly. Appreciate that, Wally.
All right.
Makes sense.
Any other questions for Wally? Louise?
Yeah, it's not a question. It's more of, I think I speak for all of us. We thank you for your service, Wally, and all the firefighters and all the staff associated with that.
That's all right. I'll pass that on to the chief so he can pass it on to the membership.
Please do.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks for coming back again, Wally. We appreciate it.
Wally,
It's okay. You didn't beat me up too bad. So I didn't mind it at all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions
Appreciate
and
you coming in.
knowledge. We need our brain to expand.
That's good. That's helpful.
Yeah.
Good night.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, good, very good. Thank you, everybody. Yeah. Having.
I would just say one of the things I've really appreciated about our fire department is we are one of the few fire departments that have been able to maintain enough of a volunteer basis or enough of a volunteer base to run essentially 100% volunteer. And if you look at the budget for the fire commission, the entire fire commission, it's basically the same as one resident state trooper, which is another way of saying if we had to hire a professional fire, if we had to actually hire an employee to do that, every employee is gonna cost us with indirects today close to what we're paying for the whole operation. So
Good point.
it's not a bad deal. It really is not.
Yeah, yeah, I think I wanted to echo that too, and that's the one comment I was gonna make, having kind of been involved with the fire department in Suffield in my prior life. The cost here is, you know, peanuts compared to what it takes to run either a semi-staffed or even a larger volunteer force. So they're really doing a pretty good job, I think, with what they're doing, so.
I think my only comment that I would like to make is, you know, many members of this board have asked for, you know, excruciating levels of detail when it comes to AES, but there's no detail in this budget. And I'm all for the fire department, and I know what everybody's saying right now, but I would just appreciate a little more detail. I mean, it's just flat round numbers, 20,000, 15,000, 20. It just looks like
But there's no actuals. I think if we
It-
just had actuals, you know, for
it
the
would be
year
nice to
to
see
date, it would
something
make a
from
lot of
last
sense.
year over the years, and it just seems like,
Remember, they don't
odd.
have a treasurer, Bill, you know,
Bill,
Okay.
I agree with you completely. It's,
yeah.
it just,
Yeah,
it's
I
just a
agree.
broad brush, no detail. And
Mhm.
again, we harped on Valerie, we want detail, 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 but right here, it's just broad brush.
Well,
It
that's
just seems,
why I asked those questions, Bill. I agree with you. I tried to understand. It's an empty building. We don't have people in there every day. Those are my ways of saying the same thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
wear and tear, but no one's ever there. Oh, a fire call comes in,
Right,
we all
it
go
is-
out.
I'm
So
trying to
new urinals,
respect-
new bathrooms.
Right.
And again, I
Yeah.
support this, and
Yeah,
my hat's off to all these volunteers.
of
I would
course.
just like to see a little more $20,000 for billing maintenance. I'm like, okay.
Agreed.
Uh,
Good point, Bill.
I know,
I just
I
think
know.
I think we need
I
to
agree.
talk about a resolution for it, Bill. You know, how do we get better detail? I agree with you.
I think you say the same thing to Wally that you've said to Valerie. Where's the detail? But again, I support the fire department, and I don't want the,
I do too.
you know, the next time there's a fire and it's at my house, they're not gonna show up. I don't know. But I
Yeah.
just think, holy crap, there's no
how-
detail here.
We
And-
should ask, how does this get paid, Eric? There must be some kind of account. I would think if this is me, if I was the treasurer and we were having a meeting like this, or anybody, I could run the report that goes with this. Like are we supposed to ask for that? Like Bill brings up a good point. There
It's-
must be
you have
account
to-
line.
Right.
There's
So-
account lines. I just want to, there's account lines that are attached to all of this, because I think this is town money. There should be a report in the system. Like if I was doing a report at my school, I'd say, okay, let me run a report of, you
Yep.
know, fire commission, let's do the expenses, let's put it in.
All right, Eric, you want to go ahead and respond? Because it's not in our system, right? So,
Sure. So the fire department has their own checking account. The town of Andover makes 2 payments a year to the fire department, and at the end of the year, they send us their reconciliation to be placed in with the audit. We do not reconcile them independently as a town. They are their own essentially entity.
But
this.
why? I mean, I'm sure we're all gonna say this.
Why?
Is that a require, to me, I
Right.
would think the leaders up here need to see all of that. And then that's just easy, that there's no oversight of what's being spent. We're not complaining. We've all
I'm not
given them their flowers.
There
we-
is an oversight. That oversight just isn't you. It is the Board of Fire Commissioners, just like
Yeah.
the
never
Andover
want-
Library.
I'm a volunteer, Eric. Not, my questions
Mhm.
aren't confrontational.
Right.
I'm just giving a lot of time to my volunteer position here. And I piggybacked on what, you know, just because I want to ask questions, or because, like everyone said, I don't oversight. So you're saying they can't, the town can't ask for this. It's just the fire, whatever you just said, that oversees them. They say yes or no, but the town supplies the funds.
I mean, theoretically, the town could take all of that in-house and cut all of the checks for the fire department. We could cut all of the checks for the library. You know, for that matter, we could cut all of the checks for the school, but we don't. if the Board of Finance made a decision that you wanted to bring all that in-house, we would start down that process. But we're gonna need more,
Personnel.
we don't have the personnel to do that right now. So that would be something,
No,
we
but-
would have to discuss in terms of
Thank you.
staff.
It's a good discussion. That's all I want is a good discussion. I didn't know that until today, and I've been on the board and I put a lot of time in. I knew that when there was trouble, and I don't mind saying that out loud, that it had broken away and AES now does theirs because of some of the audit trouble and all of that. And I don't want to get into the weeds on this, but I didn't know that the fire commission or that the library did their own. It just seems like if we have a treasurer and we have an assistant, that it'd be easy oversight of the money for those two things. So I learned again tonight. I never pretend to know all. I didn't know that. I know AES had trouble and then you broke off and gave them that responsibility. Did anyone else know that? I didn't know that.
No,
I did know that.
Yeah, I
But
knew it, yeah.
the
Okay.
library budget is a fairly small budget. This is, a bigger budget. So I'm not sure that tonight is the right time to talk.
No, it's not. But I learned and I don't want to keep
think that
going. Yeah.
maybe needs to be looked at.
And again, to Eric's point, 167,000 seems like a deal, like you say, compared to one what do you call it? State trooper.
Trooper.
I'm just saying, it doesn't seem like we have any detail at all. It's just $20,000 again for building maintenance. It just seems like a lot, but for people that are never there. But we
I agree.
can pick it up
I do
later
agree.
on.
I agree.
That's all.
I just would love to see a little more detail, but that's fine.
So Eric, when they get audited, they run over to the fire commission and they have to bring over all the receipts and all of that?
No, the fire commission gives us all of that to
Okay.
pass off to the auditor. Yes.
Okay,
Okay,
that's it. I don't want to make it a big deal. No, I like to learn more. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll stop sharing this then if we're kind of done with this. Okay. So the next agenda item would be to go into executive session. So Joanne, this is your request. You want to make the motion to go into executive
Yeah,
session?
I make the motion to go into executive session as a board first. And it has nothing to do with Eric, or I want to make that publicly said.
Hmm.
I just wanted to bring him in after. I kind of want to say a couple things to the board and here I am like taking oath. Sorry. Is that okay? I mean, how are we doing this?
Yeah, we make a motion to move into executive session, then everyone would need to agree. And at this point, it's just going to be the board and you're
just the
you're
board. We
guessing
can
that
call
we'll
Eric in a
we'll
couple
add
minutes.
Eric back in. So Eric, do you need to give me ability to host then or co-host?
Yep, you
I got
are
it.
now the
Okay.
host, so
I
you
see
can
that.
do whatever you want. The only thing
Okay.
I would suggest is that whenever you go into executive session, you state the reason why. Because you
Oh,
don't have
I'm
unlimited
happy to do
reasons
that.
to go into executive session.
So why don't you go ahead and, yeah, that's
Do my
a
little oath again.
good point. So Joanne, you want to make a motion and state the
Sure.
reason?
I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session because I have just some personnel issues that involve finance. And that's the reason the Board of Finance is, having an executive session. Yeah, to discuss a couple things with the board. And then we'll go back out of the meeting. We can call Eric in, whatever we decide to do.
Okay. Anybody second?
a second.
Somebody? I saw Louise's hand up first. Okay, Louise second. So any discussion?
I just want to say, because we're respecting anybody that could get discussed or any items that I just want to bring forth, you can't say in public. We're on TV,
right.
so,
Yeah,
but he wants, I want to be fair to the public that watches these meetings. Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
that's one of
giving
the few
respect.
reasons we can go
Yeah.
into executive session. So, all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Okay, we'll move into executive session. We're going to stop recording now. We will start recording when we come out of executive session. And everyone will be placed in the waiting room except for the Board of Finance. Okay?
Right, Mark,
Right.
and you're the one who has to stop the recording.
Yep, got it.
Peace.
This stuff.
Okay, we'll go ahead and continue then. All right, thank you, everybody. That discussion is concluded. No action to be taken at this point in public. I think that takes us to item 5A, which is review of budget to actual. We kind of need Eric for that one.
Yep.
I looked at it briefly, didn't have a lot of time, but I did take a look at it. I don't know if anybody had any specific questions.
I'll be right back.
Maybe we can take a
Unfortunately, I
break.
didn't get
Everybody
to,
wants 5 minutes to do them, but
yeah, get to do as much as I wanted to with that today. I think we
Yeah.
got yesterday or,
came
yeah,
late, yeah.
yeah. Unfortunate on my end, but we're already at March, right? So we have 3 more
I know,
months
it's
this
crazy, right?
fiscal
We're
year.
3/4 of the year through.
Right.
This fiscal year, I mean.
That
Mhm.
one meeting
Starting
we
to think of
lost
fiscal
looms
year.
large.
I
What's that?
know.
That one meeting we lost is just, it was so tight already.
I know.
I know. I know.
But while we're waiting for Eric, this would be a good question to bring up because I was thinking of this today. We were talking about we have this meeting as our regular meeting. We have the hearing next week. And the hearing, Mark, we'll have members of the public and we'll take their feedback from we won't have a document that goes to the public yet, just saying it for everyone's, what I found out when we were trying to figure out the date for the meeting and what needs to be prepared ahead of time is they won't do the actual spreadsheet of our final budget, probably a couple days before the 9th. So we don't have a lot of time. We're running out, but we do have next week to have the hearing, get some feedback and still make some additions, corrections, whatever we need to do.
Yeah, typically what we do is we have this thing pretty close to where we want it going into the hearing. We
Right.
have the hearing, listen to any public comment, and at that point, we can entertain motions to change any line items. If we
Yeah.
don't, then we typically will pass a recommended budget that'll be presented to the town meeting. So we typically do that at the same meeting we have the public hearing.
Okay.
So, and I
Well,
really don't want to schedule another meeting if we're
I know, but
gonna-
I feel personally because we missed one that's where we are. I feel like we're a little bit of a week behind of where we should be. And I mean, we'll get there. I hear what you're
Yeah.
saying. And I think it can be fast with what we want to do. Like you
good.
said, we can make
Bill and Eric are
motions and
back.
do things then. But as far as the preparing the budget, the paper things like that, I was told, that final spreadsheet when we have all the corrections and make sure it's correct, then they print it out for the meeting.
Yeah.
So, yep.
That's right.
So Eric, where we are is the budget to actual. Didn't see any red flags there. I don't know if you have anything you need to discuss.
You're on mute, Eric.
Nothing significant at this point. Overall, we're okay.
Okay, no, there is a major concern. There is also the check register that's in there. If anybody has any questions on that.
I had a lot of questions on that. Actually,
Okay,
let me get my book.
Are you gonna bring that up,
Actions.
Mark, by any chance or no?
I can, sure.
That would be great.
It just makes it easier for me anyway.
Mhm.
I looked at it earlier, but it's nice if we look at it together.
I should probably know the answer to this, but in the beginning, well, let's see. I'll go by date, January 13th. What is the liability check EFTPS? What does
January
that mean?
13th, hang on.
January 13th,
Oh, wait.
liability check. EFTPS, it's a 06 Connecticut company.
Uh,
9,480-ish.
so it's a good question. It's one of our
What's the company? Liz, what's the line?
I'm sorry, it's a January 13th liability check. The name of the company is
Mission-
EFTPS.
Oh,
It's
EFTPS.
9,482.
Off the top of my head, I don't know. Looks like it's one of our standard ACH payments, so I'm,
Liability.
EFT is probably electronic funds transfer. PS might be the
Right.
recipient, so.
yeah. My gut feeling tells me that that is probably our, no, it can't be that. I don't know, I'll check.
And then January 27th. Oh, same thing. It comes again in January 7th. the
About the
27th,
same
rather.
amount, yeah,
Yep.
a little more.
More
Um,
money.
um, Then there's leading edge construction. What is that? 6,039 for on 129.
So that is the final reconciliation of the bills between the town and the contractor, the general contractor for the community center.
Okay. Okay. And then I wonder if this is related to January 29th, Restaurant Equipment Paradise. Is that community center too?
That is for the community center. That is the kitchen equipment for the community center.
Okay. Um, and then I saw a fund transfer January 31st. Anybody else feel free to jump in. I'm kind
Liz,
go through
unfortunately,
yours,
I
and then
didn't
we
have a
can
chance
follow up.
to go. You're asking questions. I don't have any
Okay.
questions. I didn't have the time this couple days.
Okay.
I have an answer for your first question there. I just looked up the EFTPS and
Yeah.
it's a service offered free by the US Department of Treasury. The site allows clients and partners to exchange files for a single debit, state, levy, or insolvency applications. So is that like a general type of charge that we have to pay?
That is a lot of money.
Sure is.
No, that's a payment to somebody.
Yeah.
Even though it's PS? Okay. All right.
Yeah, I mean, there's a invoice or a fund or some type of account reference on there, so she'd have to check it out and see.
All right.
And then
Eric
Liz
can
was asking about this transfer on February 3rd, the funds transfer of 14,000.
No, January 31st.
$1,400,000. Looks like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
A million,
Those are-
a
We
million.
just like, yeah.
So those funds are that's us putting money into and out of the STIF account.
That's what I figured. Yep. That much money. Yep.
So we
Okay.
hold as much money as we can in the STIF account. We transfer back and forth when we have to.
Okay.
Got it.
That's what the TC January 2025 is?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. And then on
Oh,
February
wait,
12th.
no,
you
that's
have a-
not,
Oh, sorry.
that can't be, because it wouldn't be an odd number. TC is tax collector. So that's money that's going into the general fund from
Yeah, it's a positive amount,
It's a
right?
positive amount.
deposits from the tax collector.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Yep.
So that's not
Transfer.
money back in. In the 501, that is the 501,000. That would be one of the payments for ECS or educational cost sharing.
You're
Those are
talking
the big-
about a 131 here. up
Yeah.
at the top.
And that's a plus again to pay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
so it's payment from the state, okay.
Okay. What is the US Postal Service for $500?
Yeah.
So we have a bulk mail postage account that we have to put money into regularly whenever we send out
Okay.
either every door
Notices.
direct or other mailings to town residents. So
Okay, so it's
we run
just
a
kind of an
pretty big
ongoing,
postal fee every year.
okay. And I'm wondering why there's a $367 fee bill for Andover Pizza on February 12th, because if there was a party, I wasn't invited.
That
You
would've
got it 10 years
probably-
older,
That probably would have been one of the senior luncheons.
10 years older.
10 years older?
Probably 30 years older for you, Liz, but
Wait, what's 30 years older?
you won't be
Am I-
invited to those
He's
until you're
giving
another
you a
30 years from now.
compliment.
I'm giving you a
Oh, okay,
compliment,
gotcha.
yes.
Oh,
You're
thank you.
too
I
young
wasn't
to
putting
know
it together.
about those things.
You're way
Liz.
too young to be thinking about that.
Thanks. Thanks, which I wish that was true. Okay, so you think that was a senior center thing or a senior
I'm
thing?
assuming that was an expense for the senior
The
center.
senior center lunch is what that is.
Yeah, probably. It's about the right amount.
And then there's on February 25th, there's February 25th, there are three payments for $1,799. One to Andover Congregational, one to the Scouts, and one to Andover Food Pantry.
Sure. So the town is the fiscal sponsor for something called CART, which is Collect Andover's Recyclable Treasures. So when you take your bottles and cans to the transfer station, those get turned into the redemption center. The money comes to the town. The town semi-annually cuts checks back to the organizations that actually do the work. So
Oh,
that's not
interesting.
tax dollars, that's them. The town is
Redemption
just the
money.
fiscal sponsor for the group that does that.
Oh, that's interesting. I never knew about that. That's cool. And what is on the next line? What's Avenue Enterprise Solutions?
So that is the software in use by the town clerk's office.
All right.
Then annual subscription? You know,
Well, there's annual subscriptions and then there's occasional costs depending on what they're doing. They handle all the, they're basically the records keeping group, the records keeping firm for the town clerk, for all the electronic records.
Other
Economy Home. I'm sorry, go ahead, Mark.
no, I was just asking if there's any others.
Yeah, there's a lot here. Economy Home Improvement. What's that for?
Economy Home Improvement was part of finishing off the kitchen in the community room. We basically had one large bill, and that was to the equipment supplier, and two smaller bills. One was to a carpenter, and the other one was to the plumber that hooked everything up.
Okay.
So that represents the carpentry services for that project.
Who's Nathan Jacobson Associates? 18,009.
Nathan Jacobson is the town consulting engineer. We pay them for a whole range of things.
Okay.
One, they're doing the design work for the recreational field improvements and getting that to be a biddable project. Secondly, they are doing the design work for the bridge replacement for Long Hill Road.
Okay.
So we pay them for both. And just looking at it, I can't tell you exactly which pool that particular
That's fine.
one is going to. It gets allocated in different pools depending on
Yeah,
what they're
that's fine.
actually for.
I just like to be able to recognize who it
Sure.
is. And then March 5th, Cargill Inc. Who are they?
Yeah,
See,
they're our salt supplier, actually.
Oh, yeah.
We're into them for a pretty big tune every year for salt.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep. Circa, we buy around 2 million pounds of salt for town roads every year.
Others?
Going through.
Anybody
So
else
the
have any
quick,
question? Go
well,
ahead.
the QuickBooks payroll service that's on March 11th, is that payment to employees? Or is that, so it's 27,999, is that?
You'll see those periodically every
Yeah,
couple weeks.
that's payment to employees, because we don't list the direct deposit for each individual check.
Okay, so, all right, that's what I kind of thought it was. I
That's
was
why these
hoping
are all
that's what it
down
was.
Here, yeah.
Yep.
I was hoping we weren't paying this company that much money is what I was.
No, QuickBooks is our payroll service. We actually have, it's kind of annoying, but we have two things. We have a time clock service, and then we have QuickBooks. Because when we switched to QuickBooks, we didn't want to, from a company called Prime Pay, we didn't want to have to buy all new time clocks and go through it. So we still pay Prime Pay just for the fingerprint scanner time cards or time verification system. And then we do payroll in QuickBooks.
Okay. I'm think I'm good with everything else, unless anybody else has anything.
Other questions from anybody? Again, we can always, if you have specifics later, you can always come back and drop Eric an email and then you can look it up.
What's up by me?
No, we
Okay,
covered quite a bit. Thank you.
okay, our next agenda item then will take us to the new business over expenditures. Let me see where. Do we have anything in here, Eric, listed specifically? Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we have a single over expenditure right now in the senior center programs. Basically, the original budget was 3,000, and so that wasn't really under Tessa's control until January 1st. And the problem is that they ran up a really big bill at the Christmas party, which decreased the amount of money available in that pretty significantly. So that one I thought it was appropriate to grant a request to run that back up to 1,500, or add an additional 1,500, because the budget Tess was working on, got blown out of the water by one large bill that was not under her control.
Where'd that money come from? The 1,500.
Well, it'll probably just either at the end of the budget process, if there's surplus in other areas of the senior budget, it will get transferred in from there first. And if not, then it will either be taken from contingency, or based on a recommendation from the treasurer, it'll be taken from another department that's over.
Under.
This is really just informational for us at this point, correct?
Correct. So if you remember, per your policy, individual line items up to $2,000 over,
It's
I'm
noted
allowed
here.
to
Yeah.
sign for them. Beyond that, it's out of my control, and I have to forward it to Board of Selectmen or Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance.
And then what we would do at the end of the year, end of the fiscal year, we would typically take all of the small movements between funds and line items and just approve them at one fell swoop.
Okay.
Okay. Any further questions for Eric on this?
Nope.
Okay. Kim? No?
No.
Okay, and next up, we have the request for the elevator upgrade. So I think you were all copied on this letter. This is from the superintendent, or I'm sorry, the Board of Ed. There's a explanation of a upgrade that they want to do to their elevator. This is used every day, blah, blah, blah. It's an aging system. So they basically want to upgrade it to current control systems for about $22,000. So it's not inexpensive. So this would be a transfer from the capital account. So, it doesn't affect our budget in any way, nor does it affect any of the town-specific accounts, but they're asking for approval to make this transfer.
The only question I had, Mark, are we up for questions yet?
Yep, go ahead. It's up for
Okay.
discussion. So
Yeah. No, so it's a repair, right? So it's not a purchase or anything like that. It's a repair.
correct.
Are we
I think
supposed
you
to
could call it an upgrade because
Upgrade or
they've got
repair.
upgrade?
they've got older control systems that, as I well know, often these things will, you nurse them along until you can't, and sometimes you're caught in the middle of having to try to do something. But so basically they're trying to upgrade older control boards and components, which you can't service anymore. It's just the way of the world.
Yeah.
To a newer control system. This probably allows them to avoid replacing the system, but it allows, they can upgrade the hardware that they have there. So
Mhm. And I guess I was just gonna ask the people that are experts in that kind of field, because I know nothing about it. Does it seem fair and reasonable? Because I'm just reading it as we go, and I read it before. I'm just refreshing my memory. We are asking the BOF to vote to approve the transfer of the money. Sorry. It said, we do have TK Elevator as our maintenance contractor. Okay.
So,
And know the quality of their service. One company failed to issue a competitive quote saying, so this is fair and reasonable for anybody that knows these kind of items, I guess is my question.
I'm not an expert at all in this. I can only relate one story. We just had an elevator repaired at the church I go to. It was $100,000 to have this elevator repaired. I don't know what was wrong with it. I don't know what they did to it. It's not a new elevator, but it was $100,000 to get this elevator working again after it quit the bed. So I really don't know if this is a good price, but it seems not bad compared to what we just spent at our church for elevator repairs.
Mhm.
So I really don't know other than that.
Does have to go out for bid?
The only,
That was my question as well.
It looks like they worked with 3 different people here. They got quotes
We
from
have the
Cone,
quote.
Aligned, and TK.
Right, but they didn't provide those.
Oh,
They didn't provide those other bids, which we've seen with other projects. Usually all the bids are included.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful to see them.
and I don't recall us talking about this at CIP or anything. So I have nothing to add. I don't have any expertise at all with elevators, so
yeah, I mean,
I have no idea.
I'll just say that from my standpoint, it looks reasonable. They've got a history with the vendor. I have no reason to doubt that they wouldn't do the right thing with their own money. This money is
Yeah.
really for the school capital thing. So I personally, if it was a town thing, I'd want to see the other things, but I'm gonna leave that fiduciary function to the Board of Ed, I guess, with their fund. I think it's okay. They've got a vested interest in preserving as much of that as they can.
mhm.
But
would
I think the
agree.
amount is reasonable, especially
Yeah.
after what Bill just said.
Yeah,
3 or 4 years ago, we got a quote to put a little tiny elevator to do to have access to our second floor at work. And it was like 150,000 for a new one. So 100,000 to repair one just makes my hair crawl. I can't even imagine what it would be like to put a new one in now.
Yeah. I actually think it was 140,000 to be honest with you, but this just seems cheap to me, but not cheap, but reasonable.
Yeah. but-
right. And it's, if you look at the actual explanation, It's not that it's malfunctioning. You know, it's that they have an obsolete control board.
Right.
So that's why it's cheaper. Which good, you know, if that keeps its lifespan going, you know, I'm fine with
Yeah,
it.
I mean, they're
I just, you know,
proactively trying to
you know,
upgrade it and replace it.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense.
I would make the motion if I could to approve it. To approve the
Sure. I'll
$22,690.80.
Okay, Rob seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Kim? Okay, any abstentions? No. We still have Louise, right? I can't see on
I
my.
don't see Louise either.
I don't see Louise.
Did she leave us?
No.
Oh, there she is. There she is.
Okay,
There you are, Louise. You're back.
okay. You voted yes, right?
Yes.
I would
Okay.
see more detail.
Okay, motion passes 6-1. Thank you, everybody. Okay, so we'll go on to the next item, which is, there's the work order repair, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this is this is the request to move the AES surplus to the capital funds. I'm flipping between screens here. So the audit completed, we have $360,949 surplus.
I actually want to
Above
make one
2%.
point here,
Yeah,
just so that you're aware, is that what this letter says is they have $360,000 surplus above and
above
beyond
the 2%, yeah.
the 2%. So they actually have a $440,000 surplus. What you
Really?
do with that information is up to you, but
I
That's what-
think it's actually more than that. I think it's 455,000, if you do the math. I mean, I haven't seen the report, but if you do the math, it's a lot. It's like a 10.5% surplus.
Is any of that, Eric, and I don't know if you know this, but is any of that due to grants that came in, or?
I don't know anything you don't know.
Well, you know a lot that I don't know, Eric.
Not related to the school.
I'm sorry.
That's not
The
my,
one thing that is good about this, like we've all said, with having the surplus transfer it into the capital fund, right? The AES capital fund, like they had talked about. I just
Yeah.
want to make sure I'm reading it.
Yep,
And yeah, just I had a little copy over here. And that was the goal that we had when we had our meetings together,
Yep.
you know, and then enticing having money transferred forward in there for the projects that are upcoming. Yes, it's a big surplus, of course, so that is nice that I think Rob had mentioned this in a meeting. It's kind of the trust issue that we can transfer these funds into that fund because there's projects coming up.
Big projects coming up.
Yeah,
yeah.
especially for
it's-
this year, you know,
Yeah.
and
It's one
so
of those things where it seems like a big surplus, but it's not a bad thing this year.
right, it worked out in a good year.
It worked out in a good year, but yeah, it does seem like a lot of money. And again, I would
Yeah.
like to know if there was grants or whatever, but I guess I'd just be happy that we have the money to pay for some of these big projects
I
now.
think, yeah, my take on it was, this is kind of our agreement that any surplus we would move in. If we would see this consistently, like over a second year, then I think that's something that the public needs to be aware of when we're setting the school budget, right?
Sure.
That, I mean, it's not a bad thing to have basically a capital fund for the school. It's a good thing, but it needs to be baked in and understood, where that's coming from, how much it is, what the capital plan is, which, we still probably need to go in more detail on.
Mhm.
I'm
I
personally
think-
in favor of approving it because that's our agreement.
Yeah.
But it is something that we have to kind of keep an eye on.
Yeah.
do we have to have a motion to approve it?
I think we
Yep.
do, yeah.
I make the motion to approve it.
Okay, anybody second it?
I'll second the motion to move
Okay.
the AES surplus money from, or the amount stated there. Is
Into
it
the capital
36
account? Yeah.
to the AES capital account? Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, Liz is going to abstain, so the motion passes 6-0-1. Thank you. Okay. Now we come to our favorite subject.
Back to where we were from last
Back
week.
to where we were, 7-7-2. We already talked about the fire commission. Eric's got some information here required for the budget, is recommended for capital stuff. So Eric, did you want to discuss this material you added here?
So technically, this is a Board of Finance responsibility to produce this every year for the budget. That is one of the charter outlined responsibilities you have to do. A recommendation for the capital projects for the upcoming fiscal year, and then what capital projects you're planning on for the next 5 years. So I've basically given you the outline of that for what we have kind of underway now. I don't know what you want to do with it. Some years you've given it to the public, haven't done it in a while though. So, but you are technically supposed to.
Yeah, yeah.
This is
agreed.
our responsibility. Okay.
That is your
Yeah,
responsibility.
it's something we haven't really spent a lot of time on during the budget presentation, but Eric's right, in the charter it discusses that. That's part of the budget, is the discussion of the capital plan.
Is that something
So-
that should be brought forward at the budget meetings or hearings, or is that for a different time?
No, it should be done then.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you should be basically giving them the PDF document of the budget and then the recommendation for capital projects that you're funding. That's what that's what we should be giving to the public at the meetings.
So Eric, you've explained this to me very well a number of times, maybe in some public meetings too, and I'm not sure, for the benefit of everybody here, if they're quite aware of how this works with these bridge replacements and culverts, but you do have a plan in place that maybe I'll let you explain it, but that we have huge grants that really pay for this, but we had to have the money up front to get the work, and then we're reimbursed. So the money that we had to save up front so we could do these projects and they get reimbursed will also, after these projects are done, the first 2 bridges will go into culvert repair that you list further down the line. So we'll have the money. It's not like going to be new taxation, right? This is really money that's already accounted for, if you will, and put in place to do these projects.
Yeah, the 2 big bridge projects, which are Bunker Hill and Long Hill Road. Pending anything from the federal government canceling the federal local bridge program, those bridges are fully paid for, both design and construction, but the town is obligated to pay the contractor and then seek reimbursement from the state and federal government. So we have to have the funds to be able to make the swing payments and then get paid back. Which right now the plan is basically, we have a permanent fund or a capital fund called the Bunker Hill Bridge Fund. And we have a second one, which is basically the Bridge and Culvert Fund. We plan to tap both of those right now because we're in construction on the Bunker Hill Bridge. And as of this week, we will pay, roughly $80,000. So we're just at the very beginning stages of construction. That's what that's for. As far as the smaller culverts, currently The way that works is it is a 50% reimbursement from the state of Connecticut. So the town pays half of the cost of that. And those are big nuts to crack because, you know, those things are stupidly expensive today based on the regulatory, you know, requirements you have for what you're replacing. I will say I've personally been kind of working very hard lobbying for the legislature to increase the funding for that program and to increase the reimbursement. There is a bill in both the House and Senate currently that will increase the state portion of the funding from 50% to 75%. So if that goes through, that will probably, if that does go through in this legislative session, depending on whether they make it retroactive or not, that will save us about $450,000 off of that project. And if that's the case, then I will put the next, you know, failing culvert into the system because we've got a bunch we have to address. I'm just doing it at the limit at which we can fund it in-house, if that makes sense.
It does. Thank you.
I had a follow-up question to Eric because I think you did a good job in, I think it's this goes along with what you've put in the capital fund spreadsheets, if I'm saying it correctly. I feel like you gave us the amount that's currently in the account. You gave us the projected budget amount, and then you combined them so that we could see the total. So
Correct.
I did appreciate the work and obviously, you know, kind of it spells a lot of this out. Like you've told us like the bridge and culvert thing, they're pretty much spoken for. I want to say, I know I'm jumping ahead, but it does have to do with this. But say like the public works equipment, we know that's spoken for way at the beginning of our sessions. So I feel
Correct.
like you're extrapolating maybe some of that to put here for the public size. Is that, but in a much more, it's longer. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can present this or not present this. It's
Yeah.
up to you what you want to do.
No, I want to say, I appreciate you taking the time and doing this. And right, since I've been on the board like for 4 years, I don't think we've done this. So I want
Not
to
to
give
this level
you
of detail now.
credit, right, for putting it together. But I would think that we should all kind of take a look at it and then just vote next week, or not that we have to vote, but if we have any suggestions, again, you know, I like to look at things ahead. I'm sure it's good and it follows your thing. What do you think, Mark? Is that a good suggestion?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a lot to present in the meeting. I think it will make people's eyes glaze over. But we should hit the
Yes.
highlights and
Yes.
we should probably have a handout that details this. So I think the detail is good.
Yeah.
But I think that we should,
no.
in the presentation itself, maybe just the highlights.
Perfect.
Very quick.
Yeah, this is a
and-
handout. That's what I mean, but we should all proofread what we're, you know, since we're
Yeah, I think
responsible
it's a
for
good thing
it.
to read through.
I need
and
to
if we
read
have
it
any
now
Specific
because
questions.
if it's coming from us and Eric says, I so appreciate that he put this together for us. And then we should all kind of proofread it over the next week and have any edits or say, good job, rubber stamp it.
Yeah, and if anybody's got any specific questions about it,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be a bad idea to send it around to Eric in an
Yeah.
email and copy the
Sounds-
board. Because next week with the
Right.
hearing, usually we don't get a ton of public comment or input, but it could take some time and who knows
I
what
think
kind of
this year
loose
we
details
probably
we want to
will. Yeah.
wrap up. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry
Okay.
to interrupt you there, Mark. I have a
Nope,
feeling with some
good.
of the higher numbers, maybe we will get some input this year, but you never know. If people don't know the process, they might
Yeah.
not.
Or they've been following along and they don't have any major concerns, the real rubber hits the road in the town meeting, of course, so.
Right. No, so thanks again. Good job, Eric. Thank you for giving this to us. I really appreciate your work. And then
Yeah.
I won't try to read it from here with my glossy eyes, as you all said, but we'll take a look at it. And if we have questions or suggestions, send them to Eric or whatever.
I would just like to add, Eric, excellent job, long-term planning that this town never had before we had a town administrator. We just kind of let the roads deteriorate to nothing in this town. And the amount of work that you've done, I think, is commendable.
Yeah.
Looking out many years, getting the funding, getting the grants, and the long-term approach that you've taken to making sure that our roads have been, almost every road in the town has been redone, and looking at the roads that have to be done, the culverts, the bridges, the grants that you've been able to secure. Kudos to you. I think great job.
Yeah. We did have a town administrator, but between that administrator prior to Eric and the previous boards of selectmen, not a lot got done.
Nothing got done.
No.
So this is a huge step forward for the town. So
Yeah. So some
Thank
good movement on all fronts. So
No, so we
Oh.
appreciate, like, we have a job to do, he has a job to do, everyone has a job to do, so, no, this is awesome having this.
Okay.
So I want to give him his flowers along with if I make any suggestions. So there you go. Thank you for that and
Okay.
getting it prepared for us.
yeah, thanks. So yeah, if the board could review that as Joanne suggested, and keep a lookout. And if there's any specific questions that you want to have answered, it would be helpful to do that in advance of the next meeting, just so we get a chance to kind of see that and digest it. I don't like to go through a lot of details if we can avoid it during the public hearing, as I said, just because we want to allow opportunity for public comment, and then any final tweaks we want to make to the budget so we can pass if we can. So.
And Mark, remind me, do they come on during public speak and they'll, they have their forum to say what they think, people that will appear. And then we do our thing and then they come on again. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's
Well-
an informational meeting, really. It's not the town budget meeting, right?
Right.
Which has a different procedure.
Yeah, so normally I think what I would do, we've done in the past is, give a few of the highlights just in case people haven't seen it. We'll show what the end result is, what the bottom line is, what the mill rate's going to be, talk about the process, and then basically just give everybody an opportunity to speak. If we have a lot of people at the meeting, I tend to just try to set some guidelines. We had set them a long time ago, but basically, try to keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. And if you agree with, the person who went before you, just say that, say I agree with her, this
Ditto,
is an
right.
important point,
Ditto.
without restating things ad nauseum. Typically, it's not a problem, but just, it helps, I think, so.
Mhm. My, I guess, follow up, I mean, we're still in the midst of our discussions tonight, clearly, because we haven't gotten there, but so that's the forum for next week. And then if we have set things that we want to act on right then, we can act on them and make the changes right then as well.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah,
I've confirmed
absolutely.
enough. I just want
Okay.
everyone, we do have new members and everything, and because
Right,
we
What do you
can
mean?
do the
exactly,
meeting,
right.
we can do things tonight, but obviously we're back gonna go read some more, prep some more, make some
So you're saying-
motions before we do
you're
some
saying-
final. Oh,
So you're saying next week because this is my first rodeo, next week during the virtual meeting, if we wanted to make a motion to change anything, we could. Is that what
Yeah,
you're saying?
absolutely.
It functions like a normal meeting, really. Like we do the presentation, we get feedback, and then we basically have our normal meeting afterward.
Yep.
And if there's minimal feedback and we're comfortable with the budget, we pass it along. If there's stuff to address, we address it then. But basically, the presentation is front loaded, but then we still have a meeting, and
You
we
have
can
a
function as a
meeting,
board as
right.
normal.
Right.
Yeah.
So the meeting continues after the public hearing portion of, okay, did not understand that. All right.
Oh, you didn't know that, Liz? Yeah. we
Yeah,
have-
that's
No,
hey,
I'm
she's
like-
new. You don't know that.
Oh, no, I agree. Yeah,
Thank you
absolutely.
for-
That's why I wanted
Yeah.
everyone to feel comfortable that
Thank
we
you.
still can change this.
Yeah.
There's
I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
no-
no, this
Change
budget's
it.
pretty
Obviously,
freaking
because
high.
we have the
we
thing at
haven't really
front-
talked much about, we've had so many meetings that we haven't really done a lot of changing, so we're a little bit,
And we
I
missed
just
a
want
meeting.
everyone to feel comfortable that we can, that's all.
Anyway.
Rob,
If we,
No, I was just
Rob.
gonna say, obviously because we have the presentation at the front end, you don't want it to be a super long meeting, but we do have that opportunity to take in the feedback and then do stuff. So yeah,
okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, it tends not to be super long, but we do have that opportunity, right?
Okay.
I mean, again, we all have to remember this got pushed forward for us. We're so early.
Certainly.
We're having the same amount of meetings, but it's earlier. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and we lost a week.
And we
Yeah.
I
lost.
think that's probably the
So
biggest, I
that's
think
why
that's
I
probably,
wanted, yeah.
Yeah, that had a
that
big
was-
impact, right? So,
So
all
we
right,
have,
so,
we'll do this meeting and then if we have
All right.
to, yeah.
So where
Yeah.
are we at now?
speaking of which, I think probably what we want to do is go back to the budget spreadsheet. I'm trying to remember, look at right now where we left off, and I think that we got down through Public Works, maybe transfer station.
We talked, I feel like we talked about tipping fees.
We did.
So I
yeah.
think, yep.
Eric, can I ask while he's getting that, can I ask a question? Was there change? I didn't get to click on it today. Was it updated today at all before our meeting? Do you know if there's been many changes?
No.
There's
And-
one dated the 30th is the most recent one. That's the one I'm showing right here.
Okay.
And I think we,
Maybe the 20th, not the
The
30th.
20th
20th,
hasn't
I'm
happened
sorry.
yet.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'd be way ahead. Sorry, I knew it
Mark,
ended at
don't
0.
steal days
It's
from
been
me.
a week for me too.
Yeah.
Um,
Good.
s-
And Eric, one follow-up to that while we're getting settled, was the health insurance changes, when we look at the mill rate and all that kind of stuff eventually when we get through, I just wondered if it's at our new things, because everything's been updated since last meeting.
Yes, the health
Okay.
insurance information is in there and updated.
Thank you. Right,
Okay.
and we'll try to pick a color tonight so that it's easier to, yep.
Yeah, so we had, I believe, gotten through fire marshal, we talked
Close.
about animal control. I'm not sure if we did senior citizens and transportation.
I feel like we were.
I think we may have,
We did, yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm,
And I think we got, yeah, in AHM, we voted
Yeah,
to,
we
we
did.
voted
Yep.
to approve, we discussed that.
Yep.
Okay, so I think they did take us down here to boards and commissions, that's right.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, I should put a big gray line through the middle of this or something. So this is the selectmen's salary line, so we're proposed staying flat, but there's an estimated amount, it's more than the budget for this year.
No, that's incorrect. I think the treasurer was just confused. It didn't realize the first selectman doesn't draw one. So that's.
Yeah, I was
but
gonna
that's
say,
not-
he never takes it.
He never has.
Okay, so we're gonna leave that at 4,800.
Correct.
Doesn't seem very controversial. The board clerk wages up slightly.
Is that for just covering
Right.
meetings and stuff, Eric?
That is just the flat out cost, given how we pay for meetings. It's totally based on how many meetings and special meetings they have.
Understood,
not-
just ask it. Yep.
Yep.
Veterans Committee, slight increase, 250.
What,
Not really, probably.
yeah, I mean, it's 50%, but it's a tiny amount of money. Is it just based on experience?
Yeah, that's based on, what they've actually been expending year over year. So
If you look in the note here, it says that 12 months
Oh,
dated,
sorry.
735.
I
Yeah.
missed
Yeah.
the note. Okay, then yeah,
There-
that answers my question right there.
Yeah, their biggest single cost is the Veterans Day celebration,
Yep,
but they do
been to it.
other things also that they spend some money out.
got it. Yeah, they have to go listen to my daughter try to play the trumpet. I mean, you gotta pay people, you know?
Wait, your daughter gets paid to do that?
Oh, the people who listen to her should be paid.
Oh, I see, okay.
Sorry.
This is a matter of public record.
Yeah.
Rob.
Megan will get me later, don't worry.
Board of Finance clerk wages, again, this is kind of based on history.
Our meetings.
We've
Yep.
got the 12 months dated, $1,800, so we'll keep that. We've previously just ended up not budgeting any legal expense directly for the Board of Finance. That was gone back and forth on that a couple of years, but decided it just would be something
We haven't
let
used
in
it.
town.
This is reality.
Well, we have used the attorney in a couple of cases where I asked for legal opinions, but he just charged it to the town. We just continued the budget. He's on retainer.
Yeah.
So the
Got it.
concern was that if we somehow needed to have our own representation,
Yeah, the concern was if we had a conflict directly with the Board of Selectmen, they weren't going to release the money. That was the issue, and
yeah,
we basically let that go because it's just not really a thing.
yeah. Let's hope it doesn't ever become a thing. Board of Assessment Appeals, slight increase for the I'm sorry, Bureau of the Conservation Commission. That's basically flat, no change. Board of Assessment Appeals. Yeah, no real change, same amount. So we got a note here, potential request for assessor training course. Okay, so if that happens, great. Zoning Board of Appeals, Board Clerk ZBA, basically flat, no big change there. Training, an increase for training.
I'll just,
Required
just
for
say
all
that-
land use board under the CT law, new line item. Okay. Yep. Bill,
I
did you
should
want to
say-
make the comment?
no, I
Yeah.
was just gonna say that 3 ZBA members went to an 8-hour class on Saturday, so I'm sure that part of that came out of that 350
That's
or
where, that's,
future
yeah,
350.
that's where it would come from. Okay.
Yep.
Economic Development Commission, so this is up quite a bit.
That's a big
This is include $5,000 for additional welcome to Andover signs.
Oh,
People
I
like them.
heard
I like
at a
them. I
meeting
think they're
that they,
good.
oh, go ahead.
And we think we've kind of staggered the production and implementation of some of these signs over a period of years, I think was the intent. So
Yep.
I
And
personally am okay with it, but
Yep.
the sign is very, very nice. I think that's exactly what I heard at the BOS meeting, that they liked the first one so much and they wanted to get another one for another area of town, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like one coming into town and one leaving town. So
yeah,
on your
the
side,
signs are really nice. I think they're, yeah. Mhm.
okay, Memorial Day Commission, some increase there. The note here is per Carroll, some of the military flag holders need to be replaced. Okay, so they've got some equipment that needs replaced. It's just a request of $600 increase. Happy to do that personally.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, if anybody has any questions or wants
Congratulations.
to stop me as we're going through this, just say so. But I just think mostly we've seen or they're minor. Recreation Commission, slight increase, $200. 2 portable facility, new contract. Okay.
I have a comment on the
Yep.
community garden. I heard in one of the last Board of Selectmen meetings, they were talking about it and they said, are they no longer donating this food to the food pantry? And I think the answer was no. And so Jeff McGuire said, yeah, well, then why are we funding that?
No,
So,
actually,
I-
I'll speak to that because I was kind of going,
thank you. Oh, okay.
that was the thing that was kind of set up last year. Jeff had just started that process. It wasn't set up to do that. It was set up to actually have people have their own plots. What they do with their produce is up to them. So
Right.
this year, they're actually having people get their own plots, but it's not on there stating that you have to give it to. It's not, there's no mention at all actually for where that money goes. So
Okay.
Take it, baby.
So we don't really need to be funding it then,
Okay.
right?
Remember what I said
We-
later about waking me up, okay?
So Joanne?
You're
Oh,
kind of breaking up, Louise. I couldn't understand what you were saying right there.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
there are things
Has
that
he-
he has done that he's been exceptional about. And there are things that still need to be done. And I think he's requesting some additional monies for that. I don't know the whole.
Who's he? Who's
Yeah, Jeff Ballard,
McGuire?
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
Jeff Ballard.
yes. So, they're trying to keep it sustainable. And they're working on it. I mean, Jeff can probably give more details because he kind of wrote up this whole thing about what they actually did in the past couple of years.
If
I
you
wonder if we
go
could
to-
get that right up.
Yeah, what
So
does he spend the money on? Yeah,
you do have that. That was one of the things that was available to you in the shared drive. If you want to see it right now, I'm more than happy. If Mark, if you give me permission to share my screen, I can bring it up and you can see what their budget proposal was.
okay, yeah, there's so much in that shared drive, holy mackerel.
Well, there's a lot of things that go into the budget, so.
So
I know.
I'll stop sharing.
Okay,
And then you can just go ahead and, looks like you should be able to share, Eric.
Okay. Okay,
got
so
that.
if you want to see what you should be, is that big enough for you to see?
Yes.
Okay. So that is what they're requesting.
Oh, I did notice they were working on that rain collection system, right, Eric, in the back there? Weren't they?
They are.
pump and fittings for water collection. Winter rye cover top.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that explains it, I guess.
Oh, yeah, I mean, why, if it's seeds for community use, I mean, don't people, isn't the purpose of that for people to go and plant their own garden and enjoy their own vegetables and whatever,
Exactly.
right? So I don't, I can see maybe the big things if it's his job to keep it running, maybe. But like,
Yeah,
why are we providing seeds? People should plant their own stuff. I don't know.
there's a lot of things behind the scenes that need to be done to prepare the plots and all that, and that's still something that that group does. When people come in to use it, yes, they have to go in and do the weeding and all this other stuff, but there's like a maintenance type of thing that's done by the committee there. And it costs some money to do that. And intention,
Right, but then the people take the vegetables home for themselves for their own consumption. Trying to understand.
right?
You're just
if
asking
this
about the
was-
seeds, right, Liz? Questioning
Yeah, well,
that.
I'm saying, why is the taxpayer paying for this if, for people to go grow a garden, for me to go and grow a garden over there so I can bring my vegetables home? That, I guess that's maybe the crass way of saying, I'm just trying to wrap my brain around that. I know in the past, when they first built it, I was told that the point was to donate a certain part of it to the food, the Andover, the food pantry.
Not necessarily. I mean, when you see what it says package of seeds for community use, if they have like a plot or two, like let's say the Cub Scouts or somebody doing that, then that could be for that reason. I don't know what else they would do it for. I agree, people should have their own seeds, but that says for community use, so I'm not sure what that means.
I don't mean to be a killjoy, but
It was spending a
don't
lot
know
of
what
time on
that's
this.
Oh,
Go ahead, Bill.
I just think we're spending a lot of time on this. We should, there's, I don't know, a lot of money.
We can take money, we can make a motion to
A motion
use
or-
it, increase it.
Decrease it, increase
Leave
it,
it on.
whatever.
We want to leave it alone, we're good.
what's the total budget there again? 3,500?
560.
3560.
3,560.
So it is, this, row 401 right here that I've highlighted.
Yep. And that's,
I appreciate the questions and information because I don't know a lot about it either. And just, we can end up wherever we're going, Mark, with this, but is the community use, do they sometimes bring children there? I mean, are we providing it so kids can come plant things? I have no idea. And you don't have to go deep into it, but Yeah.
I would recommend if you have questions, I'd be happy to take them and go and supply those to Jeff for answers.
Well, I think what might be helpful, Louise, is if maybe he can just do a little write-up about this is the community garden, this is how it operates, this is the history, this is what we're trying to accomplish with it.
uses it?
How it's operated, kind of, so I think if we get an overview like that,
Yep.
do they expect this kind of level of funding going forward? Because it looks like $1,800 for a pump and fittings probably aren't going to be needed next year, right? So I would expect that once they get over that hurdle, then, maybe this drops in half.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so
And
if he could kind of come up with that kind of explanation of what they do, why they do it, who is served by it, and kind of what the goal is going forward, or if the budget's going to stay level, I think it would help us have an understanding and context
Okay,
for the line.
I can talk to him about that.
Thanks, Louise.
Okay.
And then we can take action on it now, or we can wait till next week and just hold a placeholder, and if we are comfortable with it, fine. If otherwise, we can adjust the line item.
Sounds good.
Okay.
I say we just wait, get the explanation and then wait, right? Unless
Yeah.
someone wants to vote tonight. And like
Well,
Phil said.
Nobody's
it's
going to make a
small.
motion. I'll move on.
Yeah.
So. Okay, Planning and Zoning Commission, Board Clerk wages actually reduced quite a bit. I'm assuming that's probably based on, understanding of what our need is going forward in history. That's good. Legal Professional is up a little bit. That's bad. Hopefully, let's see what this says here. The note says ongoing litigation with the gravel pit owner is driving up our legal costs. So,
Please.
okay. Yeah, we got to cover ourselves. That'd be my feeling about it.
Mhm.
Yeah, and to that legal and professional line item covers more than just the Planning and Zoning Commission. That
I
line
think you
item
said that before,
actually
yeah.
covers all of the land use commissions, and it's spendable both for engineering advice and evaluation on plans. So if the Planning and Zoning Commission is reviewing a commercial application or subdivision application, they would review it both legally with the town zoning attorney, and they would also send that to the engineering firm for a review by the town engineer. So that covers all of those expenses. That's one of those ones that's highly variable depending on what's going on in town, how much that gets spent.
Okay. Thank you. And then we have training going down, I assume not anticipated, and then we have the mapping staying flat, with the note that we had a large mapping expense in 24-25, and apparently not expected 25-26. So good. They're probably associated with the maybe with the appraisals, but
Well, that's associated with the plan of conservation and development. And one of
okay.
the things we realized with the POCD is that the parcel map that we have is out of date. So right now, we're working with the mapping agency, and it's both the zoning commission, the town planner, as well as the assessors. So we're trying to get everything all on a correct parcel map. That's basically what we're trying to do right now.
And that should cover it with this year's budget.
Yeah, we're gonna cover that out of this year's budget. So we don't need a big chunk for that next year.
Okay. All right, thanks. Moving down to Inland Wetlands Commission, we got a little reduction on the board clerk wages based on 12 months data. That's good. Slight increase in training, $100. Net reduction of $550. Town historian, it's flat, $200. What do they use that for, Eric? I'm sure I've asked that question before, but.
So it depends on the year. Like, for instance, if you remember seeing all the pictures that are in the community room, Those came from that way back when. Last year, we tapped that budget to produce a historical marker because it was one of the things we were required to do by the State Historic Preservation Office in exchange for allowing us to tear down the old community center slash firehouse. So that's pretty much under the control of Scott Yeomans, the town historian. You know, he spends that. It's not a big budget, but we do from time to time spend money on that or on them, you know.
Yep, okay. All right. Okay, so we're through most of the operating expenditures. We get down to the capital.
Before we go on to that,
Yep,
can we go up? I have one thing to say about the little firehouse. I know it's a very small budget, but it's something else that I heard in the Board of Selectmen meeting. And it's a very simple thing, but I'd like to make a motion
where's
to
that?
remove that $1,000 for fuel, and I'll tell you why.
In the
Old firehouse here, the 5 foot.
Yeah. On March 20th, the Board of wait a minute. No, on April 10th, I was told, or I saw in a Board of Finance meeting, I can't remember which meeting it was now, I'm gonna have to go back. It was said that Scott was due to fill the oil tank in the old firehouse, which is minimally heated, in the winter. A fill is good for 3 to 4 years. So was due to be filled in the 24-25 budget. So I know it's not a big dollar amount,
Well,
but
we don't have anything in there for fuel oil.
Yeah, I zeroed that out for the year.
oh,
The costs are for
What's-
electricity and this
what's the
electricity.
1,000? What's the 1,000?
Oh, but hold on, you're kind
Oh.
of in the wrong spot. This is the old firehouse.
Old
This is the
firehouse.
building that's gonna be torn down. The
Right,
only
okay.
reason we're still paying for the electricity is because we technically need that for the asbestos remediation contractor.
Okay, my mistake. I thought that was for fuel oil, so we can move on. Thank you.
If you looked at the budget for the old town hall, which is that one, you'll see the fuel item line was zeroed out.
Okay,
Yeah, but it was specifically firehouse, so obviously it's been zeroed, so you took care of it. Thank you.
Okay.
okay, and again, down to capital. Okay, so the revaluation, keeping the cost at the same level. And we just level fund this, right, Eric? And then we have to do the revaluation every so often. So we tap that.
So for under capital reval?
Yeah,
Yes. So what happens is on a normal cycle, the town has to do reval every 5th year. And depending on whether we do what's called a measure and list reval, or whether we do like an abridged version, our costs vary. But these days are running for a town our size somewhere in the 80 to $100,000 range. We're actually putting reval off for 1 year because the state in their infinite wisdom decided they want all the counties to do their reval, all the towns within an existing county to do their reval in the same year. So they've been adding a few years on to try to get them all synced up. So our next reval starts 1 year. It would have been 2026. It is now 2027.
Can I ask a
So we
question
got
about
put
that
off
then?
1 year.
Since
Sure.
we basically fund this by plugging the same amount of money in every year to get to a certain figure every 5 years, if it's pushed off a year, would it make sense to drop this a little bit?
Because you have 6 years to pay for it now.
Got it?
Right, Rob?
Right, like, could you go to 15 instead of 16.5, and be okay?
Yeah.
I can't answer that off the top of my head. My gut feeling says, yeah, you probably could reduce that a little bit. But the problem comes in when you get the bids back. And ultimately, the part of the decision making is whether we do a full measure and list or whether we do the abridged reval. We did the full measure and list the last time, but unfortunately it was right in the middle of COVID. So I don't think we really got everything done that should have been done. Full measure and list is, significantly, not significantly, but at least $20,000 more expensive than not.
Okay.
So,
Well, just for the board's info, some basic math. If you take that and you extrapolate it out 6 years instead of 5, it would be 13,750. So, we could leave it and have some buffer, or we could drop it a little bit and probably not be in trouble. Probably. The 16.5 over 5 years gets you like 82,000-ish. And if Eric's right, that 80,000 is kind of the low end, then maybe we leave it. That's just my thought.
Guys, sorry to interrupt, Rob. I mean, we have to remember that we do have money left over every year. So I don't think we're taking a huge chance if we do try to reduce it a little this year when we know we have, there's been,
Surplus.
so we
There's a
could transfer.
contingency fund, right?
Right.
So-
There's a 50K usually we have. So,
Yes.
So
I
you're-
would be comfortable moving to reduce that to 15K. It's not
go
all the way
even less.
down,
Yeah.
but it just, save us a little bit of money here, and it makes sense. We'll go back to 16.5, obviously, once we're back on cycle.
Yeah.
But for now,
I'll second that.
Okay,
Oh, so
Any
this is the
discussion?
motion. We're
yeah,
only gonna
my
reduce
motion
it
is to reduce to 15.
I'll second the motion.
when we get to discussion. I'll ask a question.
Okay.
okay, we're at discussion.
Rob, what did you tell us didn't you say 13.5?
Yeah,
Three.
so if you do the
13.5.
math, if you do 16.5,
Yeah.
right, times
Yeah.
5,
Yep,
that's 82,500. You divide that by 6,
Divided
it's
by
30,
6 now.
it's 13,750.
Yeah.
So
You're
I'm
assuming
still
no
leaving
increases over
play-
5
I'm
years.
still leaving some play in there,
Right.
with my
I don't
motion.
feel like, thank you, Rob. I don't feel like this is a big gamble. Like we're talking, this isn't one of our $100,000,
No,
trucks.
I mean, this is
So-
this is a tiny cut.
Right. I feel comfortable with it, but I'm probably gonna say no because I want to go even a little more. I mean, I feel like this is a year where there's a big increase across the board for a lot of stuff. So let's cut a chunk of this if we're not doing it till 2027. If we feel like we can make it up in a couple of years, we will. We have,
Well,
yeah,
what
that's-
figure would you prefer?
I would have gone right to the 13.5. I mean, this is, if that's what
13,750.
you said, and I apologize.
13.7, Rob, you said?
13,750 would
Sorry,
be.
13,750.
Yep, that would be just the
Or
math on.
14,000. I mean, we can cut
Yeah.
a couple here, and
If the rest of the board wants to do that, I'm happy to amend my motion to 14
We,
instead of
we,
15.
we should vote on the motion as stated.
Yeah,
So,
what I'm saying is just for the sake of discussion.
Yeah,
That
okay.
I'm comfortable. If people want to go to 14, then I'm happy to, have my motion voted down and we repropose it.
Yep.
that's just my thoughts, getting the discussion out there now. So if I vote it down, that's the reason. I think we could have gone a little deeper on this small line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
further discussion?
I agree. That's my discussion.
Agreed.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'll vote aye.
To turn down the motion.
No,
No,
you
no,
have
no,
to
this
vote,
is
you have
in
to
favor of
vote
the
on the
motion.
motion, yes, no, or abstain. The motion is to reduce it to 15,000.
If you want to go further, you vote no.
No. Okay.
Okay.
All those in favor?
I'll vote yes because I proposed it, but
All those opposed?
Aye.
Opposed.
okay.
Any abstentions? Okay. The motion does not pass. We can entertain any other motions. Rob?
Oh,
Well,
go ahead,
well,
Rob.
Joanne, go right for it. Go on.
I make a motion that we cut this line to the 13,750 for this given year.
We have a second?
I'll second it.
Second,
Kimber seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, hearing none, the motion passes. And this goes to 13750.
Correct.
Mhm.
There you go.
We got a couple of years in our favor there, so we'll.
How about purple, Joanne? We'll make that.
You
Yeah,
don't see it. It's
thank
hard to read
you.
it though. I don't know.
Yeah.
Get a,
Yeah, you
Oh,
want
I
some
see.
contrast in there. Go
There we
like
go.
orange or something there.
There we
Yeah,
go.
we need
There
a
you go.
different orange.
Yeah,
Boy,
There you
all
go.
the cool colors have been taken, so.
I know, they're all blended in.
I'm gonna go with that blue. We
I
can-
like that.
We can
Very
change
nice.
it later.
Right, there's our change, yep.
Okay. Eric will just pop the numbers in the revised spreadsheet anyway.
Yep.
Okay, very good. We got 0 on the capital, planning of conservation development line. Insurance severance is 0.
Contingencies
Severance
is
funds
0.
currently has 28,825. Okay, don't need to do that.
0, 0.
Contingency is level funded at 50,000.
how much is in the contingency now?
I think it's a
Zero.
rollover.
It's not a capital fund.
Yeah,
Right.
So do we have
It's in the
low?
capital section, but it's kind of recurrently funded and then refunded.
Sure. But does it have, is it used every year, Eric? There's not an ongoing total for this? Cause
Just
I don't remember using
goes
contingency.
into the what's it called fund? The
Unexpended fund
Uh,
balance. I think it
unexpended
rolls
fund
right
balance,
into it.
yeah.
Right.
So
it-
I
if
don't
it's not
remember
used-
dipping into contingency, so every year I feel like it's gone to the fund balance. So isn't that the
No,
same?
we've spent out of contingency
Okay, that was my
many
question.
of the years when I've been here.
Yeah,
And that's, by the way, generally towns run at least a 1% contingency. And we run far less than a 1% contingency.
Okay,
So
I,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't want to cut that because that's a pretty small figure. But
right,
Yeah.
at the same time, it's also true that we've gotten by many years with that figure.
yeah, but like you
you
said,
know,
one
but
major
One
failure
bad
on a public
thing,
works
and
vehicle or
50K
something,
is like,
you know.
and then.
yeah. So I
Follow-
would leave it
yeah.
personally.
Yep, follow up to that, so the contingency is there, but we also have the surplus every year, right? Where we have the fund balance, like you're saying, the extra. Am I categorizing it right? So we've got a
In
contingency for an
recent
emergency.
history, we have.
correct, but
Yeah.
so I can probably clarify. So surpluses come from two things. They come
Yeah.
from either you got more revenue than you anticipated,
Yeah,
or you had lower expenses than you anticipated. I mean, one of the things this town has been really good about is not trying to spend out all our budgets at the end of the year,
Mhm.
only spending what's necessary. A couple times the Board of Selectmen has wanted a medium ticket item at the end of the year. And we expended a lot of contingency or other things to get that. But remember, when you're doing transfers between budgets,
Mhm.
if you have to do a fairly large transfer, because remember, expenditures are only what's budgeted. So regardless of what the surplus is, my responsibility is not to go over the budgeted amount that the
Mhm.
town has.
Yep.
So the contingency is the way you cover that. That's basically your float overall of the budget, your final float.
So I was just, thank you, Eric, and that's what I was trying to understand. So I'm just saying out loud, if we do have a big disaster, like you said, the contingency is not the only place we could draw from. We would have like the fund balance that's excess that we've been
We
accumulating.
might have to
year
go
to
to
year.
town meeting for it, but yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to, no, I'm not saying we can just go do it. We have to make sure.
So
No,
because
I mean, I don't want to get
contingency-
stalled on this. I appreciate it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a good point. I don't remember ever hearing, okay, oh, we went over, we've got to use contingency or.
We have used it a couple times. We've dipped
Yeah.
into it a few times,
Right,
but nothing. I
okay.
don't think we've ever expended the full 50K, but I could be wrong there.
Okay. All right. I know we're going thing by thing and then we can talk about them if anyone has ideas.
Hmm.
All right, so if that's talked out. We have the Trans Multi-Use Building Fund at 50K, level loaded.
And
Yep.
could I ask, I know that, and this is fine, but what I did like about this is, and I printed them out for myself because I have to be visual, but I feel like the thing that Eric did was, is there a tab somewhere where it kind of showed, well, sorry, let's just do it can wait.
Yeah,
Yes.
there is. There's,
So there's the capital fund worksheet or spreadsheet.
Right, where,
have all the
I
proposed
mean-
expenses for that.
But I know that Mark is maybe trying to get through this to give us all of the amounts, but what I liked was that spreadsheet because obviously there's certain ones that we would never want to make any kind of motions or cuts to, and there might be others that we could be open to. And I commented you on putting the things in, but if Mark wants to go through all this and then we could open that, because I think that gives us a lot of info. You get what's in there now, you get the proposed amount, and then you see the bigger amount. Yeah. Just a thought.
Well, we can take a quick look if we want to.
It- I think it would be helpful. I know off the
Yeah.
top
Is,
of my
is
head.
this the
which one-
spreadsheet you're talking about?
The capital, yep.
Yep.
Eric had it as a separate,
yeah, capital
So-
fund summary. That's it.
yeah, capital fund summary.
Yeah,
Is
it's
this
in
it?
with the budget doc.
Oh, right. And then on the bottom, sorry, my eyes weren't going close enough.
So if you want details on any particular fund, they're all tabbed out
They're
there.
all in the tabs here. Yeah.
I mean, we've looked at, and what I like is what's nice. For example, Mark, do you have, I don't want to overtake, but
Oh, go
you know,
ahead.
you have the current balance, which a lot of them are still there because some of the work doesn't get done till the spring and then, you have the next year or whatever. But it helps us, and you told us like bridge and culverts, they're all spoken for, public works equipment spoken for. Yeah. Again,
Yeah,
I'm
on
gonna
the
sit
main
back and
page-
listen. I have a couple thoughts, but I can wait till the end.
On the main page in orange, if you went back to the budget and you looked at the funds, the ones I put in orange were the ones that really are truly spoken for.
Right.
So if you're gonna cut, please don't cut those because those are how we meet our obligations.
Yeah,
I
the
respect
Yeah, you
fire
that.
engine fund is for the,
You can't cut to tanker. We have a lease.
We have a
Yeah,
lease.
fire
Yeah.
engine
Yeah.
tanker, the public works
That's
equipment, and the bridge and
spoken
culvert.
for,
I
yeah.
named them.
Yeah.
Right
No,
here.
no, that's a
Mine
good
are
color
blue.
code to just tell us like those are bright lines. Completely agree.
Yep.
Sorry, thank you for saying that. Yeah, those are the ones that are spoken for, and I think I said it.
Yeah, and we're making solid progress year to year on the tree removals, right, Eric? That 50K is a good figure.
It is. Yeah, we've made huge strides town-wide.
Yeah.
You know, yes.
Except for those
It-
big darn trees at the end of Long Hill there.
You know,
Yeah, that
if you
was a-
drove around after the last storm, it wasn't just those couple of trees at the end of Long Hill.
No,
There are
Oh,
dead
Long
trees
Hill.
still standing if
We
you
could
drive around.
easily fund that at 100K and
You
still
could
have
easily
work to
fund that
do.
at 200K.
Yeah.
that is
No.
one that I don't want touched because
I don't
No,
think we
I-
should touch
every-
that.
I am not proposing to touch
that's
it.
where that's where the priority in the.
And I
10
think we've done such a great job with partnering with Eversource and, kind of
Oh.
mobilizing with them at the same day, whatever, and really maximizing our impact. That's been really good. So no objections on my part. I just asked the question, just informationally, but
Yeah, of
so
course.
let's, if we could, let's just kind of take them in order. I want to make sure we hit them all as I like to get through
apologies,
this
Mark,
page.
my fault.
No, it's good. It's all good. It's all good discussion. So contingency, I sounds like we're gonna leave for now. The multi-use building fund, again, if somebody wants to propose a change, we can certainly consider that and discuss it. I think that, probably we're all agreed that 3 and Orange need to stay right where they are.
Yeah.
Road improvement fund at 410K. Just noting the comment here needs to be a Board of Selectmen discussion about future road work planning.
I'm
know.
gonna put it out there since I am gonna propose a change to this one. I agree, and it's based on the spreadsheet of all the discussions I've heard Jay talk about, all the things I've learned through listening, and what's in there now, what's proposed, and what the total will be. I understand from Jay and Eric and everyone that's talked to us that, road work is done not during the winter because they have to be seasonal. We got that beautiful plan that he sent us. But I'm glad to see that this one has a big balance right now to start with for his April work. There's like 600K in there on that form that I had. Oh, here it is.
Yep, yeah,
600K
644 was the-
and they're asking for the 420. I get it.
410,
We're
yeah.
happy that they're making a lot of progress, but that would give them a combined of 1 million something for next year. And then the work was all listed. And I'm sure and Jay said himself, he understands that they'll get to what they can. So I am gonna make a motion to cut this one a little in the event to save the taxpayers some money this year, knowing all the things I just listed. In the funding cycle and the work cycle and getting
What-
everything done. So
What
I'm
do you
gonna
want to make your motion? Or
I'm
do you
making a
wanna wait?
motion to
Oppose.
decrease this amount by 100,000 for this year, leaving 320,000 there.
310,
310.
because it's 410, right? Road improvement fund.
Oh, I
Yeah.
must have printed an earlier version. Is it okay?
It's
410,000.
410.
410, it's 420 on my one that I printed. So yes, I would like to leave it at 310. It'll be, a high amount that will still be in there for the next year. That's my motion.
Hey, anybody want to second that? Liz seconds?
No, I wanted some discussion.
Well,
Okay,
that's
well,
after
So you
we
gotta
need a
second it to
second
get to
before we
the
discuss it.
Okay, I'll second it. Sure, I'll
Okay,
second it.
Liz seconds it.
for the
Go
sake
ahead,
of
Liz.
discussion.
But I definitely have some questions for discussion because I'm wondering if we should lower it more, but so when you look on the road improvement tab, Eric, it shows 24, 25, and it shows all these items, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items for the 24, 25 season.
Sure.
That total up to 490,000. Right?
Correct.
What of those has been done? What, if any, of
So-
those have been done, I guess? Are
None
those
of
yet to be done?
that is spring work. That is work
Well,
to
that's
be
that
done.
seasonal thing, Liz, that I've learned they do
Oh,
some
so
of it
this
in
whole-
April.
This whole $490,000 is expected to have been spent this spring. Right?
Yeah.
It's a wish list.
So-
This is what they're hoping
Well-
to get done.
I mean,
Yeah.
I would assume they're going to do a lot of work in April.
Yeah,
Right,
So
okay.
basically, part of the reason why we front load a lot of the work before July 1 typically is that that's when we have the contractor availability. Because most of everybody spends all their road work budget between July 1 and October. It tends to be more cost effective for us to have money prior to the other towns. And the other thing too is that when you take shim and chip seal, if you take the amount of shimming that we're going to do, that's probably 6 or 7 straight weeks of work by our contractor. And then you can chip seal on top. So we spread that out over the whole summer and we try to get all the shimming and a lot of the preliminary stuff done first so that, we have a new budget and we can go right into additional chip seal. Part of the reason why we have a much bigger surplus right now is because not this last fall, but the fall before,
or if,
our chip seal
Oh,
contractor screwed the pooch and never came out and did the work. So we had about $170,000 backlog or $180,000 backlog that we pushed to the following year, which has pushed everything else we've done back. So that's why, but ideally Jay goes into the spring season with $300,000 to $400,000 available for early work between the budget and town aid road money.
Can I ask a quick question, Eric? When you
Sure.
have a situation like you just described, where, you know, the contractor bricked and we have money, but we can't spend it because literally the contractor didn't show up, can we make up time, or is it a situation where we run into a problem where there's only so much you can work, almost only so much work you can do in a certain amount of time?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. You could spend as much money as you wanted on chip seal. Because that process, I mean, we'll spend our, you know, $150,000 or $200,000 chip seal budget literally in a day and a half with the contractor. So that, but the shimming portion, that takes a lot of time because we shim, you know, we try to shim with as little asphalt as we can. So we do very specific sections, and that's a time intensive process. Yep.
Okay.
So I guess I know I brought this motion up and like I said, it's hard cutting anywhere and we have to go year to year with different things. And I felt confident with this amount that's left over, knowing they have some for the spring work. Like Jay says, they float this, what Eric talked about. So, you know, with trying to get a reasonable budget passed this year, you know, and knowing we have some hard work to do, I looked at this as a place that we could, based on this spreadsheet, you know, and that's my take on it.
So my take, for those that care, is that this is a little bit of a deeper cut than I'm comfortable with. So I would vote that I'm gonna vote no on this one, but I would be open to the possibility of something in between the current, you know, requested amount and Joanne's motion.
I would say the same thing that Rob said. I think we definitely have work to do here, so we're gonna have to cut that sum as much as I hate to, but I would like to see it a little bit less than that, Joanne. I'm more in line with what Rob said, maybe cut it by 50 or 60,000.
I think I blipped out and clearly I'm changing rooms, so I missed that conversation. Thank you for fitting it in. You said you wanted to go down lower. Okay.
Yeah, what I'm saying, Joanne, is that I'm gonna vote no on your motion, not because
Yeah.
I'm completely against cutting this budget line item. I just feel it's too deep a cut. And so I'm in favor of something in between what you've proposed and the proposed budget amount that we have on our spreadsheet. So
No, thank you
basically
for
what Bill
repeating
said
it. Yeah.
it's exactly what I'm thinking. 50, 60K, I could be comfortable with. Your cut,
Yeah.
a little too much for me.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, you might have heard my comment, Joanne, it was the same thing.
Yeah, and I know people love it and they're doing a great job. I just took it's just trying to find a place that we can cut and feel
Hey.
comfortable with, and you know, yeah.
Hey, I just cut like $1,500 out of something because I saw something. So I get it. I
Mhm.
understand.
And they've got, you know, the balance, and we know that the guys aren't going to get to everything they want to, and some emergency is going to come up. And I just felt good about that this year. I understand. I won't prolong it. Thank
Right.
you.
Let's just
Yeah.
have the vote. and,
Okay.
You know, unless somebody else has something.
Further
you know.
comments, Louise?
Yeah, I have a question for Eric. Would something like this cause any issues in the town? Do you see any problems reducing the budget of this?
He's never
Well-
going to want to cut Louise, I don't think, but we'll,
Not with
Answer the
roads.
question.
I mean,
yeah,
we'll-
of course.
you know, will.
Is it a problem for the town?
I mean, the easy solution is just to eliminate the Cape Seal line item if we're going to do it. You know, and I think, I don't know what's gonna happen with tomorrow's board or Friday's Board of Selectmen meeting. Every time we do chip seal, you know, I get an enormous amount of people pissed off at me.
Mhm.
And frankly, it's frustrating. I don't like dealing with all the negative comments regarding chip seal. We do it because it's cheap and that's what the town can afford. That's the absolute cheapest thing we can do to our roads. to keep them functioning.
Some
Um,
of them look really nice, Eric. I got it, some of the roads I'm in, I like.
For a year or two, yeah.
Yeah.
Is
yeah,
it people don't like it when it first goes down that it has kind of a gravelly aspect and they don't like that or something?
Well,
both. It's dusty
they
and
started
it's
using a
not
new one, Eric, right?
what?
Well, I was saying there was one year that you used kind of a bigger, larger stone, but you switched to a smaller, finer.
Mhm.
Is that right? Something that's a little more palatable for
Two
people?
companies, yeah.
No, we've gone back and forth between two different contractors, and it switches a little bit the nature of complaints we get about it, but we get roughly the same number of complaints for both contractors. Um, the Gorman stuff, everybody bitches because it's super dusty.
Very dusty.
Because of their process. When we use Comer, we get less complaints about the dust early on, but then the plow scrapes a lot more of it off. And they really did a lousy job with the overlaps on the roads they did last year. So
Can I ask
it's a
who
really
did
imperfect process.
Burnap Brook? That road has been done, correct, Eric?
Burnap? No, Burnap's
No?
kind of a disaster.
You sent me on one road one time then, and it was so nice, but sorry, wrong road.
So Eric, you made the
Anyway.
comment that you would be comfortable with the Cape Seal eliminating that this year.
Well, it's not that I'm comfortable with it. I'm just saying that if you look at what the budget is, if you're going to drop 100K out of the budget, or a big number, that's where it's going to come out of. Because
Yeah.
you can't just say we're going to Cape Seal $50,000 worth because the contractor's not going to come out for that. So, you either do it or you don't do it.
Mhm.
Eric, can I ask a further promotional question then based on that?
Sure.
If hypothetically we were to cut $50,000 out of this budget, would that have the same impact because you couldn't get the contractor to do the Cape Seal, or could you find 50K elsewhere in the budget and keep that? Because what you're telling me is that the Cape Seal contractor isn't going to come out for less than the budgeted amount. If we cut, whether it's 100K or 50K, if it has the same impact on the town, I'd kind of like to know that.
Okay, so if you look at the 25-26 budget and
Yep.
say, what are discrete amounts? Catch basin cleaning, you either do your catch basins or you don't.
We
If you
need
do,
to do those.
it's gonna run you about 40 grand plus or minus. And
Yeah.
that depends on the actual time it takes them to suck out each catch basin. In terms of materials, I mean, we know we have a ton of roads to work off. We worked through over the last couple of years most of our drainage material supply, so we're gonna have to reset a lot of that this year, regardless of what we do. Pavement markings. Let me tell you straight out, I don't like striping roads. I would happily eliminate the $30,000 a year we spend striping roads because I think it makes it less safe for pedestrians and less safe for me as a cyclist. But I get an enormous amount of complaints every time I do it. People like their roads striped. So that can be eliminated, but we'll just get a lot of flack for it. Flex beam, every year we budget somewhere between $30,000 and $50,000 for guardrail. Last time I checked on our priority list of guardrail needs, we have about around more than $200,000 of priority guardrail replacement because our old post and wire ones, I mean, they're all falling apart. So we just chip away at that every year. So whatever you give me, we'll spend wisely. I mean, if you think
I mean,
budget 50 grand, cut it 50 grand.
No, I completely understand all of that. The point I was making is I was keying off of what you said about the Cape Seal in specific. The idea that, look, the contractor's not going to come out to do a $50,000 job. They're going to come out to do a $120,000 job. And that's my concern, is that if there's no, if I'm gonna push for a smaller cut and it still costs us the Cape Seal, then have I achieved anything? That's what I'm sort of going for here. But I'm with you on the pavement markings, and you can tell them to yell at me instead if that makes you feel better.
Guys, I'm going off of what Jay told us point blank in the meeting too. And I think I'm used to towns that operate like that, where he just said, hey, listen, he anticipates he's used to being with towns that will cut budgets and then just work with it. And I felt like we had a hefty starting balance, not hefty. We all wish we had a lot more, could do everything. This is just a year that the number is high for the budget. And Jay was very willing to do everything. I think, hey, if I was in Eric's position, I wouldn't want anything cut either. So that's all. It's not fun, but I think that they're going to get done what they can. If it's 100,000 we cut, we're going to put a couple of these things together. They're probably going to be so busy that they don't get to all of them anyways. I'm not trying to, yeah, it's just a thought. And Rob, I know you went into it and we don't want to lose some kind of big thing, but I felt very comfortable. I felt he was a real version of something, used to people doing budgets, getting budgets cuts, had worked with that before. And we're a tiny town. So, yeah, I didn't feel like he made it be a big deal. If something was going to be cut, he said, I'll work with what you guys give me.
Yeah, so will I.
I've said my
You got it,
piece.
you
I'm
got
good.
it.
Oh,
No,
yeah, no,
Any
Eric, and I get
further
it.
discussion, or can we call the
move on.
question? and
Let's
take a
call the
vote?
question.
Vote.
Let's vote.
Although, all those in favor say aye.
I,
You have two. All those opposed say nay.
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 So we lose Louise again?
No, Luis said
I
nay.
see
there
Louise.
she
I
is.
don't
Okay,
see
sorry.
Kim or Liz.
I see
I'm
Kim.
here.
I see
said
Liz.
yes.
I see
I said
Liz.
yes. Where's
Oh,
Kim?
I thought there was no more
Kim's a
yeses.
yes.
I'm yes.
Oh, yeah.
So how,
Luis was a no.
Mark will give us the count. I didn't really hear. I couldn't see everybody.
Right, Luis?
So
I'm not.
let's do this again. All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Okay. All those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so we have the motion fails at 4-3. Okay. Rob?
So I will move, in consideration of our discussion, to reduce the town road budget by $50,000 to $360 for this coming year.
Anybody want to second the motion?
I'll second it.
Bill seconds. Further discussion?
I'd be in favor of somewhere. I thought we were saying in between the two things. So I'd still like to
That's-
see a little more cut, but I don't know.
That's
That is right in the
literally-
middle.
That's literally half of what you.
Right,
proposed.
exactly in half, Joanne.
Oh, I thought he said halfway in between. Sorry. He
That's
said
what I
half of
could-
So
what I
you're
said.
proposing a level of funding of
I'm-
$360,000, just to clarify. correct?
$50,000 cut as opposed to $100,000 cut.
No, I know
Literally-
that's half. I thought you said meet
Okay.
in the middle. Sorry.
Yeah, I think we just needed to clarify.
I
So
was moving. I
You're
thought it was. meet in the
proposing
middle.
funding it at
Yeah.
$360,000,
Yeah, that's
which
half.
is 50,000 less than the 410 currently in the
right.
budget. Yeah.
That's right. Half the cut proposed before.
Further discussion? Personally, I'm gonna vote no because I would like to stay where it is. We're band-aiding roads as it is, but I understand that it's one of the few places we can probably take a little money out that has meaningful, so,
Yeah, I don't like it either.
I don't
I'm
like it either.
I'm proposing it as a compromise.
yeah. And that's the way this works, so, yeah.
Oh, no one's angry. I just misunderstood the thing before. I get it. Yeah.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? I'm sorry, you're in favor, Kim?
In favor.
Okay, the motion passes 6-1. I'm the lone dissenter there, so.
Hey,
Hey.
I'm actually kind of with you emotionally.
I'm
but,
with you
know,
too.
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
know.
God,
It's just
you
a
guys.
bad
But,
year. We
you know,
gotta do
it's a bad,
something.
it's a
hard
rough
for
year. We gotta do
you.
things. You gotta make-
Honestly, if it had been a tie, I would have voted probably for it, but
Are we
I just-
gonna kind of,
I'm
Mark
concerned
that
about
a
our
little bit?
long-term planning for the roads.
Oh,
That
me
was kind of
too.
just
I
my
don't like it either. I
statement
get
vote.
it. And now I'm gonna
Okay.
kick myself later for it, Mark. Don't worry.
Yep. Me too.
We do Euro Road last, Rob.
Yeah.
Yeah, Louise?
Gillian, hey, it's on the list. I'm gonna get screwed now.
Well, at least you don't have to live where Bill and I did.
Hey,
We
hey,
got our road done.
I
My
I
son
had
said,
skin
what
in
did
the
they do
game.
to our road?
That's
Is
all
it
I'm
sand?"
saying.
Okay, Louise?
So can Eric direct that where it's
Yeah, of
best
course we
suited?
can. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. It's
Eric
working with the
will.
Board of
Yeah.
Selectmen. They
Eric
can
and-
utilize
Well,
it.
Jay
that
said
money
Jay
he
however
will
they
do
see
that.
fit.
Well, Jay.
he would.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Eric,
that's
yeah.
a J function, not an Eric function, but
It's a
we will
huge
spend wisely
budget. There's
whatever
there's
dollars you give
600,000 still left.
All right,
Here we go.
Okay.
good.
So moving on, if we
Can we make
could.
that a different
Yes.
color? Are we
Let's
gonna?
finish this out. Oh yeah, we need
Yeah, we gotta
go-
change
Oh,
the
I'm
budget.
sorry.
We go back to
I,
the main sheet.
I was making the change and I forgot I was sharing that sheet.
Oh, we're almost there, folks. I think.
Okay,
Close
so
to
Hey.
the next line is the
We've had
tree
worse.
removal fund. I heard no appetite for making any changes there. Correct me if I'm wrong. Bunker Hill Bridge Fund has been zeroed. Bridge and Culvert Fund, again, Erica asked that we
Spoken
leave this
for.
alone, so if somebody has further comments, we can talk about that. The main building fund, so,
It's already a cut.
yeah,
So,
they're taking that from 100,000 down to 50 grand. Again, the spreadsheet had the projects, if anybody wanted to refer back
Can
to it.
I just want to ask a question.
Yep,
I feel like what's been good, now the building maintenance fund, there's been a lot of improvements made to the buildings, between, Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, is this like where the acoustic money came from to correct the acoustical sound in the things and,
correct.
yeah. I mean, that was a big thing this year, so we took it from there. So I feel like we're getting to where we want our buildings to be at least, kind of like we said with the firehouse. That we might not, okay, thank you. Probably need my glasses.
So this
Thank
is-
you.
Oh, thank you.
This is building maintenance funds. This is like stuff for the kitchen, the HVAC
Well, because
pump,
they've done
basement-
stuff to the generators, I feel like if I'm, if I'm
Right.
paying attention in meetings, I feel like we've done a lot of improvements through the years, so that's
Well,
all.
the HVAC system in the town hall was a retrofit, right?
Mhm.
That's that heat pump install, Eric. That's part of that, right?
Yep.
Yep.
And
So,
are
I
those
mean,
done?
This is what we're proposing to spend the
So-
money.
How bad is the masonry repairs? What will that entail? I'm not recalling.
Oh,
That's the
that total
25
budget,
grand.
by the time we finish that, I'm gonna say it's gonna be somewhere in the order of $200,000.
But
This gets a deposit on what we need to do and gets us started thinking about an eventual long-term solution for the Public Works building. That is a
it's a public works building thing. Say no more. That's like a,
yeah.
Is
see
it
right
that
there
is
on the
that
left.
the building that's from like 1850?
Yes, that is a.
I thought this was town hall.
150-year-old building that we're still using as a public works facility.
Right.
And frankly, so just background, the reason why I want to take that out of the building maintenance fund is because if I spend any LoCIP dollars on that, I need approval by the State Historical Preservation Society because that is on the state historical register.
Jeez.
And I don't want to mess with that. So that is one, ultimately, I want us to eat the cost of it. And frankly, probably what we're going to do in the next year or so is we're going to tear down the whole front storage building of that building because the roof has been leaking for the last 20 years. And that whole front piece is going to come down, what we call the cold storage. And we're just going to tear it down and get rid of it. And then repair the cold storage spot behind that. But I mean, really what we're trying to do, honestly, is Band-Aid that building and keep it going. Because I think there's no expectation that the town is gonna cough up the, $6 to $10 billion it would take to build us a new public works facility. So up until, as long as we can run that building, we're gonna run it. And we're gonna end up spending some money to do it. There's a bunch of things in there. The above ground oil tank, that's for the old what is now the museum. That is a concern of mine because we have an old oil tank sitting out there that we don't know what age it is, and it's an exterior single wall tank.
Is there containment at all around that, Eric?
Nope.
Ah, get rid of it.
Yeesh.
Get it out.
No,
Do
it's
it
Rob, the
right now.
insurance guy, he's putting his insurance hat on.
Yeah, I'm literally an environmental claims handler. Get it out of there.
I
Oh my
I
God.
agree totally. That should happen. Um,
Single
the-
wall steel tank. My God.
the things that we could put off, I mean, we could put off the heat pump installation in that building,
Ah,
considering a solution for that. That's definitely possible. The cabinet and countertop replacement, the Board of Selectmen's basically and CIP have already approved that.
Right,
They
that's the
approved
firehouse
de-strap
thing we talked
fans
about.
last
yeah.
year.
Mhm.
So a lot of this stuff is already money that's been essentially allocated through the
Well,
norm.
that's why thank you. That's why I asked the question, just to see, like we talk about in budgets, like in your home, are all of these needs or wants? So I appreciate you putting this out there so that everybody can see this. In just this year where we were trying to, it was a huge mill rate, no, am I saying it? Mill rate increase. And then,
Mhm.
overall spending, we have to keep remembering that even though we throw surplus at it and bring it artificially down, we are marrying the town to whatever we pass for those expenses as the norm. So if I'm seen just trying to ask questions here, that's what I'm trying to do. So like,
Yep.
and because once we pass it, then everybody thinks that's the level budget. We start there and we only go up.
Well, we're going
And-
down in this fund for this compared to last year, so there is that.
Right, but maybe because of all the expenses, trying to see which ones are needs or wants. So that's why I asked the questions. And he said himself, just like I listen to things in meetings that could be put off. So it's not saying, let's not do it. We're, like that HVAC heat. So I want to get down to I'm going to get down to Public Works this week and look at it. I mean, Jay has invited me. I had a shower the day everybody else went and just kind of see some of this stuff. And whether I vote for it or not. And the masonry I thought was at the town hall. So that's.
Does anybody,
Yeah, go ahead.
did anybody want to make a motion to change this?
Can I ask another question first?
Yep.
Sure.
Are any of these paid for in this current year's budget? Like plumbing and electrical for the kitchen? I thought that was already done.
Well, so remember, the building maintenance fund is a rolling fund. So that top line for plumbing and electrical will be spent out by the end of this year. But
But it'll come out of
what I'm
this fund
basically
round.
saying is, look, we forecasted for the next year between now and the end of the next budget cycle, about $135,000 in expenses. And the only way to do that is to add to our current balance.
Mhm.
That's all. If you cut the fund, we'll do less stuff. It's
Mhm.
not.
So my
know.
question is not whether or not to do it. My question is, are any of these things already done that were paid for in the current budget, like the electrical for the kitchen? The kitchen's already done.
The
So
electrical hasn't been done.
what
Some of
electrical
the
are you?
plumbing is done. The electrical is not done. It was not, but we hadn't, I suspect the current balance here is actually lower because we've been tapping that fund for what we're doing in there,
Okay.
if that makes
And-
sense.
And the D-Strat fans, I thought those were discussed months ago.
Yeah, we
Right.
did. I think we approved those as well.
Curious
Yeah.
why this isn't here and not in the AAS budget, but
Because we
regardless,
had, well, because it is a capital project. And it is not a capital project that the school wanted to do. It is a capital project that the Board of Selectmen wanted the school to do.
okay.
It's used for recreation widely through the
Okay.
town, so that was kind of, I
Okay.
think, what.
Yeah, I
what-
think the
that was the reason for that.
justification is that the gym is kind of a multi-use, but
Stuff
yeah,
and-
it was
And
also,
yeah,
if
I'm fine
memory
with that.
serves, it was kind of Jeff Murray's baby.
Yes.
He gave what to me was a very convincing explanation for the
Yes.
idea. But yeah, I think that's how it went down.
Moving
Right, so I
forward,
guess my question was, this was months ago and it hasn't been paid for yet? I mean, shouldn't?
We
my
haven't
question
done the
is, are
work
all
yet.
these? Oh, it hasn't, okay, the work hasn't been done yet. Is it,
Correct.
I guess I'm thinking it was already budgeted for in the previous budget and we're looking for next
Well,
year. I'm
it's
just trying
been
to
approved,
understand.
but
Eric's
it's
showing
out of the
us how he's
93K.
gonna spend the
Yeah.
money that's in there now. If every, the way I look at this is we have a total, and then Eric does a good job of showing us what would be done. And I heard from Eric's mouth himself, which I don't hear very often, that's why I'm gonna make the final, this next motion, that they could put off the HIVAC thing. So to me, that's more of a wish, and I heard that from Eric, so I'm gonna go ahead and make the motion to drop this line by 17,300. Or this fund, so I have to do the math. That would be 33, but 32. Or let's just drop it by 17 and leave the 3. So I'm,
So you're proposing we change the,
One
the
twenty-eight
recommended
is your
funding in
proposal?
this line and put off that project till next year and save the taxpayers a little bit of money there because Eric himself said it could wait.
Am I correct that that would be 128.8 that you're proposing?
I
Sorry,
thought
that-
it was
no,
funded
it-
this
it-
year
it-
at
it would take
50,000.
50,000 down
Oh,
to,
oh, we've switched
I would-
you were
spreadsheets.
looking
My
at the
fault,
total.
my fault, my fault.
I'm
I
taking
was
the
looking at the
funding.
wrong number. My
anybody
fault.
want to
okay.
second the
Okay.
motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, Liz seconds.
People.
Further discussion?
Yeah, we're just lowering it to 33,000. If some job miraculously has to come up, hopefully there can be some transfers within this budget to cover it. So I feel comfortable, lowering that this year based on our conversations.
Okay,
All right.
anyone else? Okay, let's take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
I
Aye.
All those opposed?
No,
Nay. So Liz, you're opposed?
No, I'm a
Liz and
yay.
I.
Okay, your hand
She's
was
in
still up.
favor.
Sorry, I just.
You're
looked up.
holding up your head from our long meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry,
I ate in
Well,
it
my,
just
between.
my
slowed
I feel
screen
down.
was freezing
energy.
earlier, so I just want to make sure I got it right. So, the motion passes 4-2. And we will change this to 33,000. Thank you. Okay, AES Capital Fund. This is
Already zeroed
proposed
out
for
for the year.
0, so we're taking 100,000 out. That's being
Well,
funded through the
right.
surplus
Right.
and the 2% non-lapsing.
And I wanted to, am I allowed to speak, Mark? Do you have to go first?
Well, what do you want to speak about?
Well, I know there's only one after the AES, and the open space fund I heard discussed I understand it and I think it's a great fund to have. On the spreadsheet, you'll see that we have a great total in there already. It was discussed at the BOS meeting that there's no properties that they're currently looking at all. And we've got a big pot of money already, so, to help the taxpayers again, I'd like to zero this line out for this year and revisit it in the future, based on the total. If you could show us the total on the spreadsheet.
It's
I feel like there's a-
284,000. 284,311 is what's in the
Right, we're
balance.
close to 300,000 with no properties in sight, nothing on the horizon, nothing they plan on buying this year. So I feel comfortable with that being more of just not padding it, it's a good fund to have, but I feel comfortable there's enough in there with nothing on the horizon this year to take that down this year. I know it's gonna hurt I know who likes every single fund, so I hate to do it, but I'd like to
Rob?
make a motion to do that.
The only,
Okay, we
the
have a second?
only thing, oh, sorry, go on. Go on.
Are you making a motion, Joanne, then?
Oh, yes, so I'd like to make a motion to take that down to 0 for this year based on the things that I said.
Okay,
And a big full budget already.
okay. Second,
I'll second it.
Liz seconds, okay. Discussion, Rob?
Yeah, so my only, like, I understand, Joanne, I do.
Yeah, thank you.
My
Yeah,
only, the thing that gives me pause here, and this goes back way back, I can't remember the exact date,
mhm.
where we lost out on a property because we just didn't have the money put aside, and it hurt us because,
Mhm.
and it was like this really dumb situation where if we just had some money set aside, we could have gotten property that was on the rail trail, and so I know exactly what you're doing and I completely understand it, and I just disagree, and I
That's
think I'm gonna
okay.
vote no.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah,
Thank
I,
you,
I
and-
would say the same as Rob. The problem is when open space might become available, you never know. Something could pop next week.
There's no radar is really what it
Yeah,
boils down
and,
to.
and you don't know if it's 25,000 or 300,000, right?
Yeah.
But isn't that when we
Not
could
that I'd
go
be
to the
comfortable
contingency
spending
and
that
just
down
get it?
entirely,
I
but-
don't know. Can we use contingency for that?
I mean, we could go to the contingency, couldn't you? If this is really
You
that
probably
deal that
could,
we
you just
can't
have to
live
go to,
without,
either
we
way, you
could
gotta go to
the
town meeting,
surplus.
right?
Yeah, you'd have to have a whole town meeting, which is it makes
But-
the
but
process
the
even
point
more
is that
cumbersome.
you
So
know,
But then
it's
they
that-
should have a vote if they want it. The
Right.
town, if it's that
I
big of a
don't dis
deal.
I don't
And I
entirely
thank you,
disagree
that's
with you.
all. It's
Yep.
just one of those, they all said they have nothing on the horizon, so,
I know. I think that's
Yeah.
how it is.
yeah,
That
understood.
it's not on the horizon until it suddenly pops up. So that's my 2 cents.
Sure.
Okay, anybody
Understood.
else?
I would, you know,
I have a
I sit on the
question.
fence with this one too, because I hear you, Rob, and I know the exact situation you're talking about. I know the exact situation, and I was like, God, why didn't we buy that? But to go along with what Joanna's saying, it is a year where there's a 2 mil increase that's never going to pass. And I hate to zero that out. It goes against my grain. It's like the road crew, the road work. But I just think if we're ever to get a budget to pass, we have to start looking at some of these line items, or we're dead in the water. So I'm going to have to say I will vote yes when it comes to vote.
Understood.
But I'm totally in your camp, Rob. I
Yeah.
totally
It's a tough
understand.
one. It is. This
It's a
is where
tough
we're
one.
at.
It's just a bad year for.
None of this is easy, I know.
Yeah.
It's hard on everyone.
Or anybody else have any comments? Okay, we'll take a vote. All those in favor say aye, and hold your hand
Aye.
up if I could.
Aye.
Okay, so we have
That's
5
4.
ayes. All those opposed,
No.
nay?
Nah.
Okay, 5-2, motion passes. We'll zero that out. Thank you. Going back to the main budget sheet here.
Oh, yeah, all the blue. Right, the blue.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I'm not like, that's
There it
good.
is,
So
blue.
when I get to look at it tomorrow with
No,
fresh,
it's helpful though to
Okay.
have.
Well,
this is what
we
we
have
did this
now
week.
gone through all of the line items. We have nothing in debt retirement or interest expense. So that leaves the current budget at $13,056,251.05. We're at a
And
two
do
point
we
eight
know,
percent increase overall. That includes, of course, the AES and the RAM budget. Eric, I haven't been following. Do we have a final RAM budget?
No,
I didn't think so.
I'm
No.
just grabbing
So-
a pen. I'll be right back.
So that change is 255,000. So that's less than a mil we're looking at now, right? A mil
Well,
is
let's look at the mill
313,
rate.
huh?
Half a mill rate. It looks like half a mil.
So
No, half a
a mil is
percent.
313 according
Sorry.
to what Eric said earlier. It was 313,135. So we're now less than a mil. That's all I'm trying to say.
313.
Instead of a 2 mil increase, we're less than a mil right
Um,
now.
no, right
No,
now we're at
no,
about,
your mill rate
No.
increase.
1.3, 1.2 something.
but remember, when the final calculations are made
Coming back. Right back.
for the motor vehicle assessment, we're gonna get, the grand list will go up based on the Board of Selectmen's decision.
About 90,000, did you say? Was that right? Or
Oh,
what was that?
I'm not gonna give you the mill rate will go up some number of millions. How much of that, I don't know. That's, cause I can't do the numbers crunching on that. That has to be done by Vision Appraisal. And they've got, of 169 towns, like 165 of them have chosen to pick the higher mill rate. So they're basically redoing an entire fall's worth of work by April 15th. I have asked that we get ours done because we're a smaller and simpler town. So we have it by the April 9th meeting, and we can give a final mill rate at the annual budget meeting. but I don't know whether that will be the case or not. Depends on the contract.
And let's not forget that the mill rate is just a way to calculate what's being
Yeah.
taxed at what level. What's really happening here is
Yeah,
that
2%.
the total taxation of the taxpayers in the town of Andover is increasing at 2.0%. To me, that's pretty dang reasonable, overall,
say.
right? We still have a pretty big adjustment on the Andover Elementary, and we've heard the reasons for that. And that'll be left to the town meeting and the taxpayers at the town meeting, of course. But the mill rate's one thing, but the story, I think, is that there's a 2% overall increase to the town of Andover taxpayers.
Hey,
Yeah,
Mark,
that's what really matters.
The
'Cause
mill rate's
rate's
just how
only
we
one
calculate
part.
that increase.
It's just one
Let's
part
not
of the
get caught up
puzzle.
in the mill rate.
Yeah, total by taxation to me is the line. That's the one to look at.
well, again, it's how we get there. We have to remember, and so I had to walk away and get a pen. I wanted to ask a question, I guess. Last year we had put 150 to the fund balance. I think Eric put the 190, so we're not doing apples to apples exactly, because I think you added that extra 40 that should have been in last year. Is that what that is, Eric?
Or is that the
Correct.
interest? Oh.
Right? So, all right,
Yeah,
so we
where
have
is that?
190 there. And can you guys repeat, and I so apologize, the beginning of the night, you were talking about the total budget, and then today, I think Bill was saying it. What was that statement you made, Bill, just so I could follow that?
I'm sorry, when I said earlier
No.
tonight,
I thought you said, or someone said at the beginning of the night, Eric said we had this and now we have this. So are we saying that all of the
I'm s-
updates that we've made has everything filtered in so we're looking at what we have now
Yeah,
as a
my
mill rate of,
understanding is that's the current number, that 2%. And like Mark made the changes and should have propagated, right?
okay, I'm gonna look real close, so I'm gonna take my camera off in case I have a question, so I don't annoy anybody.
But
I
right,
gotta-
Mark, that should be the case, right? Like you made the line item changes that we voted on tonight, and it
Right.
should have been it should be reflected in that 2% number, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah. That's
And-
Yeah.
that's our current working
So
number.
the total by taxation increase at the last,
gotcha, yeah,
at the last, spreadsheet that we worked on in our last meeting was at 2.9%.
right. Yep, and I like to look
So-
at how much we've raised the expenses for the town, you know what I mean? Because we can artificially no, so I get you, and I'll do that on my own. So right now, we're saying it's a 2%, but it's how we got there.
That's 2% by taxation. You're right. And
Right,
you
it's
know,
2% by
by
taxation.
taxation.
People
yes.
mainly care about the mill rate, things like that. I mean,
Well, we need
I
to
mean,
tell that
that's-
story because
that's a bit of a
all it
misnomer.
really does is it's shifting a little bit of the taxation more on the homeowners and less on the vehicle owners.
right.
Right.
Um,
And then counterbalanced by the reversal that's been allowed where we get to go back and raise that mill rate back up, the
Mhm.
auto. Because there was an outcry about that. But I think just big picture, getting
Mhm.
from 2.9 to 2 is pretty good work.
All right, that's
I-
maybe
I
what you
hope
guys
we
said.
I hope we didn't cut too deep, but
I don't
Yeah.
think we cut very deep, but I think it was hard to do what we did, but
yeah. But I'm personally, that's not a bad number, all things considered. So
Yeah.
I'm happy. But
It
it's
does strip a
also
little bit of the
getting
fund
late.
balance to get there, but I think it's
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're finally making some good interest off that stiff account, which is really nice.
Huge.
right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean,
Kudos
for
to Eric
years
and
and years,
Carol
I
on that,
can't believe
yeah.
how many years we went without doing that. It just kills me. Anyway,
let's look forward, Rod.
look forward, not back. That's right.
I think it's good that we're where we are today. I think we had some discussions both publicly and and privately that could change things a little bit, but I don't
Mhm.
think they probably should be done right now. I mean, I'm just looking so I think, so I like that we've already talked about at this meeting that next week will be the hearing. We all go back to the drawing board and we, come back next week ready, as I did today, put my face out there, as do all of you.
So
And just,
I'm gonna, are we okay with this? Can we move on to the next
oh, I
agenda
can't
item?
give
Yeah,
my
I'm good.
final
Please.
thoughts. All
Let's
right,
move
I will
forward.
See the
stop my
bo-
final thought.
Yep, Liz?
I
Sorry.
wanted to see the bottom line on the main tab. What is the bottom line budget number? I just wanted to.
Yeah, that's what I would
It's
like
the
to know.
town operating
13
budget.
million.
Yeah,
And then you have the 13 million is
That's
total
what I needed.
education.
251.05.
Hold on,
Okay.
please stay there for myself too.
There you go.
That's, I think, what I was getting at earlier. Thank you. Let me get closer.
Yeah. And then, if you look at the
Thirteen.
change, it's there
So
also
that's the
reflected
total
255,
spending package of 251.
2.8.
There you go. Thank you. That's exactly. And then last year it was 12.7, correct?
12.8. It says corrected. So
Right.
I would go with the 12.8 number, right?
Oh, 12.8, sorry, right.
So the
But
approved
why did we
budget last
correct? I'm
year.
not understanding the corrected. I mean, what did we pass?
So I will explain that. The
Thank
approved
you.
budget last year for total expenditures was $12,841,511.
Okay.
However, that, as we well know, included an error that was around $40,000.
Gotcha.
So when you look here at the corrected budget,
Yeah.
that gives you the number with the correction.
But the 12.8 is the corrected?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 12.8 is the corrected number.
Yep.
The current corrected budget. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
12.
So that's the
Let's-
real budget for this fiscal year.
And
No
so,
rate.
gotcha. And this year it would be 13.
Which is how you get to 255.5 as your increase.
So, all right. So, and I believe last week making notes, it was like in the threes. Yeah, that's what I was trying
Yeah,
to get at,
that's,
guys, earlier. I was
which
looking
makes
at the
sense
wrong.
from the cuts that we made tonight.
So we did make some cuts.
We did.
Yep.
We
So
did.
did we actually cut $389,885? Did we do that?
Wow.
I don't
I
think
don't
so.
think we cut that
Oh.
much, did we?
I
Tonight,
think we
Well-
started at around 330 as the total increase. I had notes on another thing. So
Well,
whatever.
because
Yeah, go ahead, Liz.
57.
right now, the new proposed budget is looking at 13,056, 251.
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
And before we made these cuts, if I'm not mistaken, it was 13,446, 136.
13,446. Let me look as I put that.
No, it was not that
No.
high. It was, because remember, the Board of Selectmen whacked a fair bit out of this budget also.
Right. So
Okay.
we made some cuts on top of some cuts, guys.
Right.
Like, the open space fund, I think, if memory serves, there was a $25,000 cut and we cut another 20, we cut it all the way down. So,
Right.
so there were
Okay.
already some cuts
Oh.
in there.
This,
that were-
this was the spreadsheet we were looking at last week.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we're
there
at
you go.
13,150. Whoops.
Eric
I-
always had something off to the right and on the mill rate page that said the increase in spending. And I thought it was 330 one week. It might have been 313, but
Well,
Okay. Yeah,
350.
I was just kind of curious.
Here you go, 350.
Our current increase in spending total year over year is $214,740. But that is with the AES going up 380 something and the town coming down 115,000, 111,000.
oh. And we've also
I'm gonna
already
go back
cut
to the
the
current one here.
AES capital.
And
So-
and remember, the AES budget has come down hugely when they agreed to give us their surplus back.
Wait a minute.
How did the budget
I
come
mean,
down?
not AES,
RAM.
RAM.
Okay, that scared me. I'm
RAM.
like, wait, you can't do,
Like,
we'll
what are you
never
talking about?
figure it out if
Getting
we.
late.
That's why RAM
Oh.
budget is negative now, because year over year,
Here it
given the
is.
two
Isn't it?
things,
Yeah,
Guys, at
they
one,
did that last year too. They dispersed the money back to the towns.
Yep.
At one point, the up increase, I wrote it, I finally found it, was 408, 312 at one point. Then
Sure.
we did like take away the AES capital, so we
Yeah.
are coming down to whatever,
Yeah.
the 255 or whatever number we have. I didn't write all the way. For the increase in expenses. I know it's late, Mark, but it makes sense to see where we've come down. On his spreadsheet originally, there was a little thing to the right that said this budget is up 408, 312. That's, yeah, at one point. So
Yep.
we have, and it's up there to the right, whatever. Yeah, you got to go all the way over, but there we go. So now we're at the 214. So that must be
here.
linked in. Okay. I see what you did, Eric, what you were talking about.
There's little
Okay, I would
formulas.
propose, unless
everywhere.
somebody wants to make a motion to modify any of these numbers, and we move on to our next agenda item.
Oh, we got
Yeah,
more agenda
let's
items.
do
I'll make
that.
that motion that we move on. to the next-
So are you, before you do that, are you
Yeah,
approving
before.
this? This is what you're going to public hearing on this budget right now, because
Yeah,
we're
by
gonna. put this-
definition, this is where we are.
Yeah,
That's the
Well,
case.
that's why I wanted to finish and wrap up my discussion, just if
Yep.
we do that, and I know you want to go to the next item, we will. So this is where we are right now. And you said all of this is updated, and then we're allowed to modify more if we look at things or want to bring
Yeah,
motion.
yeah,
Okay.
we'll still have that option.
Yeah, that's all,
After
just
the meeting.
confirming.
We'll still
Yep.
vote on the final recommended budget to take to town meeting, and that'll typically be after the public hearing next week.
I
That's
feel like
right.
we made good inroads then, because we did get some things done tonight.
All right, let's go.
Go.
Okay, hearing no more discussion, then we're gonna move on. Okay, next up on our agenda, we have, I think, just the approval of the meeting minutes.
All right.
That is correct. So we have the tri-board meeting minutes, the regular meeting minutes, the joint Board of Finance and Board of Selectmen workshop minutes, and the regular meeting minutes. Probably need to tackle all of these in separately, since we didn't always have attendance on those the same. So if we could, I guess I'll go ahead and share. I don't, just for the sake of reference. The first meeting minutes is the tri-board meeting minutes of Wednesday, December 4th. Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion to approve these?
I'll make the motion
I had
to
a
approve
couple-
them.
I had a couple changes on this one, or a couple call outs, because I actually read them. They're little. On page 2 of this one, there's a few things that are not correct, or
Hey, Liz, can
so-
I just
yeah.
interject for 1 minute?
sure.
If everyone's, I get the feeling that everyone's tired, and if there are gonna be projected, which it's understandable, do we want to just put these all off till next meeting again? I mean, because we're just right in the middle
Mhm.
of budget season, and by the time, it's up to everybody. If there's gonna be changes on different ones and all of that, it's up to everybody. Do we want to tackle this tonight? I was feeling fine, but I felt like everyone was rushing us on, so. Does
Well, we've
everyone
been here
want
for
to?
3.5 hours, so that's
No,
I'd be
why.
in favor.
Understandably so. So this isn't an urgent matter. So we
Right.
should maybe put this off and do this next
I agree
month.
with Joanne. I think it's something that we could put off.
This is something we should just put off. I'm trying to
I'm
do
totally
my,
okay with that. Yeah.
Let's do it.
because I kind of want to
I
read them
move we
through
table
too.
this.
I want to read them.
What I
through
would
too.
suggest, though, is if anybody sees any discrepancies, and thank you for reading through it, Liz, I was not at that meeting, but maybe
Yeah.
what you want to do is identify those and just highlight them, send them out in an email so we can kind of review them in
Yeah.
advance.
Okay.
I missed that meeting
right.
too, so good kudos to you for checking.
And I
Yeah,
mean, we've all
well-
kind of read through them, but it's been a while.
Yeah,
And
it's a lot,
thank
it's a
you
lot
for
of
under-
text on that one, so.
Yep. Yeah, I can send out my edits. They're minor. Some of them are just some are spelling, some is a sentence.
And I
Yeah,
think
good to
more
have it right.
info
We
needs
wanna
to
have-
be
make sure the
added in
meeting
a
is
couple
clear.
places, so I want to have the chance to do that too, so.
So I will send my comments on to the group, and then if anybody else sees any comments, they can add
We
on
can
to
add
that
on to it.
email.
Yeah,
Thank
We'll do
you.
it that way. That's fine.
all right. If nobody wants to make a motion regarding the meeting minutes, then
I'll make a
we-
motion that we pass on the meeting minutes until the next official Board of
Yeah.
Finance meeting.
We don't really need to motion that. We just don't take action and we'll move on.
Oh,
Make a
okay.
general agreement. Yeah.
Okay.
I make a
That
motion. I
leads
want someone to
to
accept
agenda
it.
item 9, which is
I
board
accept
open
it.
discussion. I'm sorry, what was that?
Nothing.
We were,
We were
Nothing.
goofing. I think everybody's getting a little punchy here.
see, I ate, that's why I got my energy
Does anybody
back.
have anything to add under board open discussion? No? Does
We've
anybody have
learned
any
our lesson.
correspondence that has not been shared? I think we all received the stuff from the Board of Ed and we talked about it tonight. That's all I've
Mhm,
gotten.
mhm.
Okay, we have public speaks. So we have T. Grew. Is that Terry?
It's
Terry?
Tess.
Tess. Anything to add? Public speak? She might be asleep. This is been one of
Look at
those
that.
longer meetings, so. Okay, if you don't have anything, Tess, we'll move on. You are still muted, but we'll go on. Next on agenda item is adjournment. Would anybody like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make
I
a,
assume.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Okay, I heard Louise first. Thank you, Louise. Anybody second?
I'll
I see
second it.
Kim Pan. Thank you. Any discussion?
Nope.
It's a hot topic tonight. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. We have
Thanks, everyone.
we've been through it. We'll see you at the public hearing next week
See you next
and
week, public
continue
service.
from there. Okay?
Mark, quick question
Yep.
before you. So is the agenda set for us or it's a week away. I'll send an email. No problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think the agenda is simply, presentation of the budget, public comment, and then
Board open
board
discussion.
discussion on the
budget
budget, and then,
workshop.
final approval.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we add budget workshop continues or whatever
Yeah.
we do just to finalize. Okay.
Yeah, we
Sure.
will absolutely have the opportunity to make further changes.
Oh, no, right. Thank you. And I know I've asked it several times. Don't think I'm forgetting. I just want to make sure we don't have to put something on the agenda. Thank you.
Eric,
night, everyone.
you look like you're raising your hand.
So I was just gonna say tomorrow, morning early, can you get me, I made corrections at the same time in my copy of the budget. But at this point, we normally run off of yours, so if you could send me that tomorrow morning,
I'll send
I
it
will
to you in
make-
3 minutes.
I will make
Or less.
PDFs of that in the morning and we will publish that on the town's website to the public.
Mark, can you share it with us?
Yeah,
all
just
of us,
copy
thank
everybody.
you.
Yeah.
Yep.
And just for
Eric, isn't that a
reference,
little preliminary to put it on the website? Is it preliminary budget? Is that what you're saying?
you're having a workshop. You need to tell the public what your budget is.
Listen, I get it. I'm only asking a question. It doesn't have to
Right.
be like I'm a little kid getting yelled at. I get that we're having a workshop. Thank you. I
Yep.
get it.
Problem.
I asked if it was preliminary to do that. That's all. Thank you.
If
Yeah,
you
go
don't
in
want
the
it published,
packet,
I won't publish it.
Well, I don't
No, it's
know
going
if
in
we've
the
ever
packet.
done that
Decision.
before, so I was asking if we have it. I don't think it's finalized yet.
It's a draft budget, right? I mean,
Right, right,
Not really in its final
correct.
stage.
Yeah, but-
Final one will be what we distribute
As-
before the town budget meeting.
As long as it's denoted as a draft, I have no problem. I mean,
Put a
what's the
watermark
problem?
on it that it's
Yeah,
a
I
By
just don't
definition,
think
the
we've
town
done
hasn't
it. The only
voted,
reason
it's
I
the
asked the
current
question
draft.
is we
It's
hadn't done that.
fine. It's the current working draft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're in agreement. I'll send it around to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody.
Get some
Thanks,
rest.
Eric, as
Have a good
usual.
night.
Bye.
Night.
Have a happy evening.
You. Bye.
Bye.